a whole project for somebody versus one song, and how challenging that can be, because it's not just getting one song right, it's doing 6 or 8 awesome mixes, but then doing 6 or 8 awesome mixes that sound great together.
Yeah, and I think there's another aspect of it too, and maybe this is a question for you too, because I'd like to hear your perspective on it, is how do you send those mixes to the artist once you're done? Like are you sending them, say you're doing 8, let's say 8 mixes for somebody. Do you finish them all, then send them 8 all at once? Or do you finish 1 and send them just per when it's gone? Or do you do them in batches? Because that's something that, okay, so I've done a couple now together. Like I was saying, I haven't really done more than 6 at once, because we normally just do like EPs. We don't really do albums.
Yeah.
So I've done maybe 3 or 4 of these EPs, mixes or whatever. The first time I did it, I sent it 1 by 1.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, it's cool because like it makes you look good. They're getting, the music faster.
Yeah.
If they got any notes, you can kind of be doing them while you're starting the next ones. Then the most recent one I actually kind of did it in batches. I did 3 and 3. So most recent one I did was 6. So I did 3, and then I did another 3 after that. And I don't know. I was kind of like, because when you're going through the mixes, something that you do on the first one, maybe the mix you do on the second, you figure out something new, what elevates the second. So now you want to go back to the first.
Yeah.
It's like maybe what do you do about that? Like I kind of don't have a 100% rule to that, and I don't think there is. But like, what's even your opinion on that?
So for example, the last project I just did was about 10 or 11 songs. I didn't get all of them at once either. So I was actually given them sort of in batches, and I think that helped a lot, because it can be overwhelming. Sometimes mixed notes for one song can be a whole day of just like reading pages and tweaking shit and stuff. So I don't want to get that times 10 and just be like, feel totally overwhelmed.
Like maybe I'm not the guy for this job.
So, yeah, but then there's the other thing too, where as you're working on it, you might realize that, hey, this project is sort of developing its own sound, and by like mix 5 or 6 or 7, stuff that you've done on number 1 or 2 might need some of the new vibe that is building as the album goes on. And that's what's so cool about mixing, is like you are almost the like an unofficial extra member in the band who's contributing to the music.
Yeah, and I've hit the point now where I think doing it in smaller batches, I think, is the best way. And I don't know about you, I think probably a lot of people do this, but they just don't say anything, is whenever I get some notes back, I'll make my own notes. Like even after I've sent it, if like I've already moved on to the next thing and there's like little tweaks, or like, this EQ curve sounds really great for this band. This mix bus EQ, you know what? Now it sounds more like a record. I'll put that on the first one without saying anything to the band. Like I'll do so say they sent me notes. I'll do all their notes, label it as the updated notes. Then I'll do a save as like a G Ward update. And I'll do an updated one, send it to them and see if they notice. Most of the time they don't notice. So it's great. Now I feel more comfortable with my work. If they did notice, I just go back to the other save as, and here you go.
Great.
Like that's what I do now.
Point O's. Got to keep those point O's, man.
Exactly.
Point ones, point twos. Yeah, that's something that I find myself doing as well, is I will I'm literally every minute of every day I'm learning and getting better. So I'm like, they'll send me their notes, but I'll be like, oh, like I figured something out, and I'm gonna add to their notes, and like you said, see if they notice. Maybe they don't, but only to improve it, right? Like only to improve it, only to
hopefully
to make it better. So hopefully they should appreciate that. And most of the time, I mean, I feel like the times when the artists have caught me doing that, they'd be like, yo, what did you do? Like,
or like it was positive.
It's a very positive reaction.
Very positive
it's like
reaction.
They can't pinpoint it with their ears, but there's a feeling.
Yeah.
They're like, yo, that chorus hit me, or like, did you do something to the mastering or whatever it might be? And it's like,
Yeah.
actually, I did. I wasn't going to say anything, but, you know, it's always nice to just have that, go a little extra mile, you know?
Yeah. And that's kind of, you know what? I haven't had anybody catch me yet, which is probably good though, because that means that like it was so close to the ones that I was sending that it wasn't major changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever like you master your own stuff a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I did that the first couple projects. It's more or less because of budgets, to be honest.
Yeah.
But now
Totally.
I'm like, no, I want to send it to somebody else. And before I send it to the mastering guy, I really double down and like check everything, make sure I'm really happy with it. Just well, obviously for the band because they're paying me, but also for me because I want to look badass sending this to the mastering engineer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's always like you know, you're trying to level up or you're trying to show how good you are, or that's anything, or say like you're doing a production engineering, if you're sending it to a mixer that's on a different level than you want to show them how good, how organized you are,
Totally.
how good your audio sounds, like all that. So I think that elevates it too, to be honest.
When you're sending stuff for mastering, are you sending the mastering engineer obviously your mix, but your limited mix, like your rough master as well, to be like, yo, this is how far I got it, like
Okay, so
here's what the band's used to listening to, type of thing?
Yeah, so this is like the loaded question, because it's like the streaming services is crazy nowadays. Everybody's talking about this because how many LUFS it is. Spotify just turns you down if you're over, was it minus 14 they turned you down to or something like that?
Yeah.
So I actually don't, like when I'm doing a mix, we had a conversation about this before. It's the Michael Brower thing where I'm literally mixing at up to minus 8.5.
Yeah.
I shoot for 8.5. I don't really know why. It's just 8.5 seems very comparable to anything else that my client would be playing the mix to.
Yeah.
And I seen with proper gain staging, you can get it there, and my limiter is barely doing anything. It's not doing anything.
Totally.
Like maybe I'll have it like it's okay, it's doing something, but like on the Pro L2, I'll have it at 0. I'll have it on the times 8.
Yep.
You know,
oversampling,
and I can see it. I'm using it as my level. It's knocking just minus 0.4, minus 0.8, like whatever. But that's really it.
Yeah.
I really don't try to limit.
Yeah.
I just try to get it loud. And sometimes I will. Like sometimes I miss the mark. Like sometimes you get to the point where with your gain staging, like you're like 90% done the mix and you're like, ooh, like I'm a little quiet. Like maybe I'm at minus 10. You're like, do you know what? I will just pop the limiter, send it up to 2.0 or whatever on the Pro L2, then send it out to the band.
Yeah.
But I never send a limited mix actually to the mastering guy. It's always I'll leave the limiter on it, but it's at 0.
Yeah.
And I also do a little bit of clipping. I use like this JST clip.
Nice.
And I'm literally just like, it's just like I don't even think they have like a meter, like a level. Like it doesn't tell you how much you're doing. It's just like a half a turn on the knob. I do that.
Soft clipping at the end.
It's just taking, because a lot of stuff we do, the snare is like the loudest thing in the fucking mix.
Yeah.
So it's just like taming the snare a little bit and the transients. It's just gluing it a little bit.
Yeah.
It sounds more like a record to me. It's just like sounds a little bit more aggressive and glued together.
I remember the first time I saw like a good demo of a soft clipper and on Mixbus TV, and he was shaving off like 6 dB of level
that much?
of the nominal level of the snare, but it sounded the same, right? Like
the
peak value.
Yeah.
The peak
I know
value.
what you're talking about. Yeah.
And it sounded on like almost louder, like definitely wasn't ruining it by 6 dB, but just like the soft clipper. And I was like, oh good Lord. Like, you know, so now I use that a lot in stages on individual instruments, sometimes on the whole mix bus as well. But just to get like, you know, so you can get it more dense, so you can push it louder without actually having to really, like you said, get your limiter to do much at all at the end.
I think maybe though too, to be honest, I think I'm probably mixing a little too loud. I might actually start dialing it back a little bit, just because like when you get I've built now a little bit of a relationship with the mastering guy we send to. but you know, like, because I'm sending him, you know, the mix at minus 8.5.
Yeah.
Well, he's sending me a master back at 6.0.
Oh wow.
You know, it's because like that's his job to turn it up, and obviously it's more than just turning it up, but you know, like it's a fucking loud master.
Yeah.
And it's like now that hits the stream services, it's going down 8 LUFS. You know what I mean? It's almost like probably a little bit too much. So I actually might try dialing it back to start sending stuff out to guys, and I'll probably just start cranking the limiter as a reference to the bands, but I might try to start sending stuff out at maybe 10, maybe 11, 10 maybe.
Yeah, because
Just see what happens. See if I notice a difference.
the whole thing with the Spotify turns you down, this and that, is like, yes, it does, but your perceived loudness is really what matters at the end of the day.
True.
Like, yes, they're turning you down to a number, but you can play 2 mixes that are one's minus 8, one's minus 7. Dude, like like some of those really good in the 2000s, like the really good hip hop mixes that were like
Usher Confessions,
good R&B, like that stuff's minus 8.9. That stuff's minus 9 LUFS.
Yeah.
And then and I've done this. I've referenced it. Like I have a big pile of CDs outside on a shelf, and I'll rip them, bring it into Pro Tools, and just nerd out and look at the stats and stuff. And dude, like a minus 6 doesn't mean it's 3 dB louder. I've heard minus 9s that were hitting so much harder than a minus 6. So it's all about like your dynamics, like your EQ curve, like how well your low end's controlled. All that shit plays into how your ears hear it, not what the number on the screen says.
Yeah, exactly too.
You know? So definitely don't master to minus 14, because then it will just sound stupidly quiet when it's up against everything else. But I mean, it's a fine balance. You want to get something loud, but you also want to get something that's not lacking energy and dynamics, because when they do turn it down, then it just sounds like a not exciting turned down thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Which is not going to compete at all.
And that's the biggest thing too. By the time I'm reaching the end of the mix, you know, I think I mix a little loud. I like to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's not like loud, like it's not crazy. I'll turn it up if I need to, because I need to feel the bottom end. I need to make sure that the bottom end's tight and like it's big, it's really moving, and like the drums are hitting hard. But a lot of the times, like I'm really, really quiet when I'm mixing, and definitely near the end, I have it super quiet, and I'm making sure, is the energy there when it's super quiet,
fucking quiet
versus I turn it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is it the same amount? Or actually, to be honest, if you nail it when it's quiet, when you turn it up, it's just going to get even more exciting.
Oh yeah.
So like that's really a big thing that I've been like really trying to really dial in too.
That's been a huge one for me too.
Yeah.
Probably in the last year and a bit, is mixing quiet. Yeah. And I noticed that when I go on iTunes and I play, you know, the newest Dua Lipa or the new J. Cole album or whatever, and it's like my speaker's barely turned up. It's like 2 notches from complete silence, and you can still hear
you still feel the energy.
Hear the song. You feel the energy at like fucking retardedly quiet levels.
Yeah.
And so when I've started taking that into account and trying to do that with mine, and then you know, can I hear the verse all the way through? Do I hear every snare hit? Do I hear the mid range of the bass? All that shit at quiet levels, and then like you said, once you turn it up, then you're really competing. So because the tendency when you're mixing is just like, I used to make this mistake for years. When I wanted to hear something more, I turned my speakers up instead of making a change in the mix.
Yeah.
But now I just try not to touch the monitors at all. And if I need something, I do it in Pro Tools.
Yeah.
You know, and man, the results have been amazing. Truly amazing. Just getting to the finish line and to the end results that I want so much quicker now.
Yeah, you know. I love looking back at stuff. Just a quick example here. Just seeing where you kind of came from, like see the growth with, like I like to look at, you know, I've had the studio now, or Daniel, my studio partner, we've had our studio now just maybe a year and a bit now, year and 2 months maybe. And one of the first bigger projects we did was this band called Waterfront. They're like from Alberta, and we did 4 songs with them originally, and I just finished 6 more for in June.
Nice.
That's what we were talking about, a big chunk of mixing or whatever I was doing for them. And listening to the stuff that they just did now to what we did, I think it was only 10 months ago. Huge difference. But it's not just me though. Like it's not just me. It's not just like the product, like the engineering job. It's also their songwriting got a lot better. They've had more experience in the studio now. They're leaning into more of the songs instead of individual parts. You know what I mean? Like a lot of bands.
That's good.
And they're good at this stuff to start. And what's super good about these guys too is they're great listeners. And like I think that's a lot of the time is like when you're a younger band, because I was that band, still kind of am that band. You know what I mean? You kind of let your ego to your individual instrument get in the way of what's actually serving the song. And sometimes people don't realize that it's like we're all in this boat together. You know, we're going to the same place. Like we all bought this ticket together. We're going on this cruise. We're all ending up at the same location. Some people just think they all want to go off in their own little dinghy. Like, I don't know. So like it's just amazing seeing the growth of like a project that we did like 10 months ago to now, and it's just like gets me really excited for the future. Dude. Like that shit just really fires me up of like, wow, like it sounds so much cleaner. The drums are more slamming. Like everything, just like if you're ticking the boxes of the best mix ever, you know, we got a couple more ticked. Nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's so important. Like because I beat myself to death over this sometimes, and then other times I'm reminded like why songwriting and musicianship is so important, because literally like the songs that are, the structure's good, the performance is good, the recording was nailed. Those mixes just kind of fall together, right? And you're just kind of you're throwing in some automation and just polishing it. But the stuff where it's like this person has zero talent, you know, they were all over the mic, moving. I'm you know, vocal riding it like to death, this and that, multi-band compression. The stems are maybe not the best. The beat arrangement, like the bass line's clashing with this synth, and there's no low end in it, and there's just, you know, on and on and on, like just bad ingredients in the stew, and then you're trying to make it taste like a Michelin dinner, right? And man, like when you get those songs that are
no amount of seasoning
that work, it's
you.
it's such a joy. It's just like, man, thank you. Like, I'm having fun now. I'm in the zone. I'm just, you know. But I think the tougher ones are where you learn, man. Fuck, like the tougher ones are where you really have to push your skills and challenge yourself and really work hard. Because if every mix that was sent to you was, you know, perfectly recorded and arranged and everything, like it wouldn't be challenging. I don't think we'd be growing as much as we are, you know.
Yeah, it's tricky. Definitely being involved in the production or being engineering definitely helps in the mix prep, getting it ready for you to mix. You know, I just dealt with a mix. I'll say it was a few weeks ago. Some people don't know the timeline. That you know, the files weren't ideal. Obviously,
to put it nicely.
The files weren't ideal. But you know, because of experience or your experience or my experience, I know that, you know, there's certain things you can do to prep a vocal that maybe if it wasn't recorded ideal, you can still go in and make some adjustments, you know, EQ out P's if P's are still happening, or chuz. Or, you know, the compression. I like to slam the vocal, you know. I turn down all those breaths before I even start, because I just know I'm going to do it. You know, I use the magnifying glass and Pro Tools and just max it out to see if there's, even though you probably won't be able to hear in the mix, just to see if there's any bullshit in between all the vocal lines, and I just cut it all out. I do that for everything. It's just part of my prep thing. Guitars, you know, God bless, I hope they send me DIs for their guitars so then I can edit them, you know, to make sure that all the guitars are tight and all the bass is tight, and like, you know, if they got the bass DI versus the bass amp, is the phase relationship good between them? What about the drums? You know what I mean? Maybe it's MIDI drums, maybe it's not. Like, if they're using samples, are the samples in phase with each other? You know, it's almost like when I start a mix, I spend probably three hours just going through that, just to make sure that what I'm starting with is closer to my standard of what I would trying to be engineering or producing a project to,
Absolutely.
or what I hope I would be getting.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you can't fix a vocal quality or something like that, or maybe actually pretty much everything else you can fix, to be honest with you. But even with the vocals, you can kind of make it work.
Yeah.
But it's definitely every project's a new challenge.
It's, oh my gosh. No, like, I mean, I still don't work off of a template for a few reasons. A, because a lot of this trap stuff is like 12 stems.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And I have my go-to plugins, and I just use the search function in Pro Tools, and I grab the things that I like.
Yeah, that search function's like a godsend.
It's great.
Dude,
eh?
it's crazy how good it is.
Type in like the first two letters. The plugin that I use all the time is the Brower Motion. It's like a stereo.
Oh yeah. You showed me that one. That's cool.
And I just type in BR and boop, pops up, instead of having to go to like modulation, search down all my,
Do you know that trick where you can do, I think it's if you click on the plugin and press like shift something, and it'll save it to the top of your plugin list?
Yeah.
So I do that, but I don't even use that anymore, because still the search function's quicker than even just going to the plugin thing and getting it.
It's quick. Yeah, there's also, I think there's also a function where you can have your, you can have like a preset pop up with when you open a certain plugin, like it'll load with a plug instead of the default.
you have to save it into the plugin. Or I have my SSL channel has that, where I have like a default one. But to be honest, I use the SSL channel on everything. But to be honest, it switches so much that I should probably just put it back to the factory default. Because like the SSL channel, I'll use it on drums.
Yeah.
Like I'll use it on vocals. I'll use like literally everything. I'll use it on, and it's totally different every single time. How I treat drums on an SSL channel is completely different how I treat a vocal on it.
Oh, definitely.
So
yeah. I wanted to ask you about drums, because I know for the stuff that I'm doing, it's, let's say 100% I'm getting samples with trap and hip hop.
Yeah.
But with rock, I mean, traditionally, setting up a big drum kit with tons of mics and building a whole day around that, getting a nice sounding room was like, that was a whole thing, man. Like people took a lot of pride in that. Does that still exist? How often are you seeing it? Are you involved in that? Or are you seeing a lot more programmed drums? Like, talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's depends on budgets, depends on the genre within the rock genre. Like some bands want to be going, if you're going a more 21 Pilots route, theirs is real drums, but it's very sample based. It's almost those real drums are treated like they're sample drums, like they're beat played in.
Yes.
While maybe a band, I don't know, a Greta Van Fleet or a classic Led Zeppelin band, like you're going for that organic sound.
Yes.
It really depends. So we've been doing it with a lot of punk rock bands too. So we will, like, whenever we can, we try to do real drums, because I still think I'm happy with the MIDI drums we do, and there's been certain techniques that I've figured out that make it a lot easier, which I can talk about. I don't care about hiding that or anything like that. I just stole it from somebody else. So so anyway, but we prefer to do live drums because there's a certain feel in the hi-hats. I feel like programming hi-hats are like really tricky. And to be honest, Daniel, my partner, when we're doing production, he is a drummer, so he does a lot of the programming.
Okay.
If I didn't have him on that, I wouldn't be lost, but I'd be close to lost. So I don't know. It really depends. I still prefer to do live drum kits, but the sound that we're going for with our productions, or the sound that's in my head of drums I like, is actually very sample based.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've released anything in the last year and a half that hasn't had samples on it. It's just a certain quality to it. I don't know. It's a certain upfrontness. It's like part of the modern sound of records nowadays. It's like consistency.
Yeah.
Obviously that's just to preference. Some people like that classic sound where every hit's not the same. And even too, like with us using samples, it is not the same velocity, all the hits, but it's fucking close to.
Yeah.
Or like snare rolls, we'd be taking down the samples, but on most of the major hits in the verses, it's a lot of sample. It's a lot of the same hit, but Yeah, it just has a radio sound to it. It has like, I don't know what it is. It's like a certain quality to it that I hear. I'm like, that's how a drum should sound to me. I hear them and I'm like, that's what the best session drummer in the world sounds like.
So over the years, is this something is this a trend? Like as you know, back in the day, 70s, 80s, like rock was that was the main thing. Like you were a rock star, you were the biggest art, you were the biggest musician in the world. But like, let's be honest, hip hop has really become the mainstream. Hip hop has become the number one.
The hip hop artists, the rappers are the rock stars.
Are the rock stars now. Do you think that the sound of I know for sure the sound of hip hop is influencing all genres, but do you think maybe like is there a correlation between how much drum samples are being used with like the growth of hip hop over the years? Do you think that how they're used in rock drums? I
don't know if it has. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if it's directly correlated to hip hop drum samples on real drums, but I know they've been using them since the 80s.
Really?
Like drum machines, all those classic Def Leppard records or the Bryan Adams. There was a producer called Mutt Lange where they would use like Fairlights and stuff like that, drum machines to recreate the drum sound. So a lot of those 80 records are drum samples or like not even real drums
straight
at all.
Up drum machines.
Yeah, I remember hearing like Every Breath You Take by The Police. I'm not sure what year that was released, but those drums, like Stuart Copeland's a fucking incredible drummer in that band, but just certain things that they were trying to do to level up their mixes and productions back in the day, it was live drums, but they tracked every element of the kit individually.
Wow.
So like they did the passive kicks, passive snares, passive hi-hats, passive cymbals, so that you have zero bleed within the kits and you can fully control it. That's a lot of people nowadays, not nowadays, this has been done for a while. I haven't done this just because, to be honest, this is kind of tricky, but most people, when they're doing a real kit too, they won't record the cymbals at the same time that they record the kit sound.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. So think about a drummer doing a pass. I think they'll normally do the hi-hats within the kit. So say you're playing the verse and you're going into the chorus, and on the downbeat of the chorus you got the big cymbal hits.
Right.
Literally they'll fake it. So boom, boom,
air drum it.
Air drum the cymbals and keep going. Because what happens is when you're in the mixing stage, if you want to slam the shit out of the drums, 1176 all buttons in, what happens? Your cymbals go
all
crazy.
You're going to hear is the cymbals, yeah.
So if you actually overdub the cymbals on a different take, now you can crush those drums, get them more up front in the mix, but you're not getting the huge wash from those big cymbals. It actually makes
a lot of sense. Yeah.
But at the same time though, I've heard it on certain records where I think it's been amazing. I've also heard it on certain records where you can really tell that just from the dynamics and the loudness of the kit, it sounds like you got Dave Grohl behind the kit. Then it sounds like you got the wimpiest drummer ever hitting the cymbal. Like it doesn't. Like if I always try when I'm like mixing like a drum kit, I always try to imagine it live. You know, when I'm doing the samples, when I'm doing the levels of the kit.
Sure.
If I was at a show, looking at the stage, I just visualize it. What's the intensity of the drummers playing? You know, for this type of song and this verse or the chorus. Hopefully the chorus, if he's a great drummer, he's going to up the intensity to give it that lift. Well, how loud are those cymbals going to be in correlation to the hi-hat or sorry, not to the hi-hat, to the snare? Yeah. You know, where's that intensity going to be? And, you know, when I see a drummer live, he's not going to be smashing the shit out of the kit, then just lightly tapping the sit. Like it doesn't make sense.
So you want to you want to maintain the control, but you also want to not fuck the groove up. You want it to sound you want it to sound real and organic, and I mean that's the most important thing. Like you said, people notice that, people feel that, even if it is really well mixed in the end, you pick up on those things. So
even sometimes too, like I haven't tried that technique. It will be something that I want to dive into. It's just you know, you need a fantastic drummer. You really do. You need a top-notch session level guy. You know, everybody could do it, but it just takes a lot of patience and a lot of time for it. What mostly I do is using those samples, I can really get the drums up front as how I want them. I can compress the drums a certain amount that they sound exciting, but they're not overdone. Then on the cymbals, normally what I'll do is I'll actually put in an extra sample myself of a cymbal hit for those downbeats of those choruses, so you still get that big downbeat.
Yeah.
But I'm able to treat the drums how I want, treat the kit how I want.
Oh, really interesting.
So it takes a lot of time, but it's worth it for sure.
Man, learning a ton here from you about this.
Yeah.
The rock world is fascinating, man. Just like, I remember when we were at Nimbus and they'd have us set up 16 mics on a drum kit, and it's just blowing my fucking mind, like, and I would tell people, oh, this is what I learned in school today. This is, we brought a band in, we got to record them, and people just look at you like they're incredulous. I think the average person probably thinks that, I don't know how they think a song is made, but they definitely don't understand what it, like the level of effort and detail that goes in. Like, oh, the band shows up and they just like sing the song, right? And then that's the song I hear on iTunes, right? And you're just like,
yeah,
well, there's a couple of things in between.
So I think, one of the next steps that Dan, my production partner, and I want to do is we're actually want to move our studio to a space where we can actually do drums ourselves. Right now we're outsourcing to a bigger location where we can do that, and that's totally fine. We've been happy with the results, but a lot of the time when we're doing demos or pre-productions of the bands, it would be nice if we had a space where we could kind of just control it and just go in whenever we want, and we can have the full budget to whatever. And maybe if it costs X amount of dollars to do drums, we're really trying to hammer it out in one day, because that second day is a huge expense. While if it was just all in budget for us, it's like we could do a bit of drums on the Monday, then finish that song on the Wednesday. Now let's do a bit more drums, and we could just leave it set up. So, and we're ready to go whenever, type of thing, and build a drum template. So it's like, oh, you want to lay down drums right now? Okay, give me 10 minutes and we're good.
Yeah,
and
great.
like all the mics are on the kit, like everything.
Totally.
That's the songwriting world. You know what I mean? We're like, we're ready to go. So we want to be able to set that up, and we will do that in the next year or two. We'll move to that.
Amazing.
I think when you're talking about the Nimbus thing of the 16 mics in the kit, I think a lot of that is necessary, but I think a lot of times it isn't. I used to look at it now, and to be honest, this is just my opinion, and I might be totally wrong. I don't know. It's just my experience with what I've had lately with it, is you don't need necessarily 16 mics on the kit. And it's not necessarily that you're using all those mics. It's just giving you some options.
Totally.
So I think of it as, when you're doing a production for a band, normally people do drums first. How can you really gauge on what the drum sounds are going to be if you don't have the vocal, the bass, and the guitars in it?
Totally.
Like, you're guessing.
You're mixing in solo guessing. At that point.
Exactly. It's like you're mixing in solo. So it's like, how do I know if I want these drums to be a huge, I don't know, stadium arena sounding? Okay, we need to go to the warehouse, the armory, we want the big room. Or how do you know if it's, I'm going to want it a little tighter, or maybe the verse I want it more tighter to sound like a small room. In the chorus, there's your lift into the chorus.
Right.
Those mics are just for flexibility. Those mics aren't all for everything's on.
Yeah, we're committing for all
or
these. Or
at least I'm guessing a good mixer or engineer wouldn't have it on the whole time and have one static sound throughout. It's, the room sound's going to come, the far room sound's coming in at the chorus.
Sure.
Because it's going to elevate that kick drum, it's going to elevate the room sound, the energy of the cymbals. But in the verses, maybe you're just using the overheads or a close room,
right.
Or maybe, maybe in the verses you're using that mono overhead, and then in the chorus you got the stereo overheads. Like, it gives you options to play around with.
Yeah.
But like, to me, in my head, of us moving forward and getting our own studio, I'm thinking it's probably gonna be a 12 mic setup. You know what I mean? Because anything that I think I want to do and have versatility wise, I can either do it after the fact, which is okay because I'll have more flexibility for it, or this song might not need it or whatever, right? So like, I'll probably do like and to be honest, the place that we're getting is not going to be the fucking armory or the warehouse. The place that we're getting is probably going to be hopefully like a 200 square foot live room, which is totally doable to get a big drum sound. It's just, you got to do a little bit more trickery to it. So I think that's kind of the thing about the lot of mics on drums too. what I've noticed with a lot of mics on drums too, you have to deal with a lot more phase issues.
Right.
So sometimes having less onto it is actually easier.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's the one thing I've been noticing more and more I do this is less is more a lot of the times for the engineering process. Like even if you see like interviews with big engineers or even like, okay, I'll give Garth a reference because he owned the school we went to. You know, I've seen him talking and like they used to have such complex setups for recording guitars or recording bass and stuff like that. Everybody going throughout their careers is going less and less and less. Just like simple's better. Just like, do you have a great guitar? Do you have a great amp? You got a great microphone? Got a great pre?
Yeah.
Perfect. We're good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like don't make it harder than it needs to be.
I was listening to an interview the other day talking about just this, and the kind of the way that they put it was, you know, if you have 200 instruments in the mix, you've got to turn them all down quite a bit to be able to leave the headroom and hear all of those things, right?
Like to hear the main thing in the mix.
Hear the main thing. All these things are your faders, everything's turned way down. But if you have 8 things, all 8 of those things get to be really loud and proud and, you know, the front stage actor, and you get to hear them. And it's like, again, it goes back to like how our ears perceive things, you know. We can't pick up on all those little things, and sometimes we frankly don't care if there was like 8 different options for the bass amp or whatever. Like, just nail the sound, get your good samples, nail the lead vocal, and fuck, man, you're off to the races, dude.
And two, sometimes it's all about intention, right? Like sometimes it's okay to have 200 tracks, but your 200 tracks need to be leaning on the right elements.
Yes.
And like maybe 100 of those tracks are leaning on the right things and is 90% of the sound. Maybe the other 100 are swells or pads, just giving a strict vibe.
Moments.
Moments. You know, we've gone down to lesser tracks. I remember, you know, you just don't know what to do. Like when you're starting production, it's like you're throwing the paint at the wall and you're hoping that it sticks because you don't really know the identity of the song.
Yeah.
You're just kind of throwing shit at it. Be like, okay, that's kind of cool, and that's okay. But now with more experience, I like before we even start, I already 80% know where we're going.
Yeah.
So I don't need to be throwing paint at the wall. I just make the stroke I want to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
comes with
it's just experience is what it is, right?
So one thing I'm really curious about, and I wanted you to get a chance to talk about on the show today, was like how you've made this effortless, gorgeous transition from being like a lead guitar player in a band to now like a successful producer and mixer. Can you talk about like your journey from the Face Plants to now with the Renaissance with Dan, and like how that's all come together?
Yeah, one word, COVID. No, what it is I don't know. Like the Face Plants, I don't think, you know, like probably all our fans or friends or whatever is probably thinking, what the heck's going on with this band? But to be honest, I don't really know either. Just because like we were kind of talking to a couple other friends. Dan and I went to, remember Nigel Asselin? Mm-hmm. I was at his studio just the other day.
Cool.
Just catching up, and he was helping me with something. And we were talking about the Face Plants, and we were talking about you know, really wanting to say something that you believe in and say something that's meaningful to the world, or something that when you're on stage and you're singing it, you really give a fuck about it.
Sure.
Now, I'm not the main songwriter in the Face Plants. I'd say I might be the second, but I'm not the first. Daniel's the first. And, you know, there's a lot of things questionable. I shouldn't say questionable because that sounds negative. A lot of things in question in the world, and a lot of people not knowing what's going on with the mask thing and the politics and stuff like that. And it's just really strange. And I feel like maybe he was uninspired, didn't know what to say, didn't know what he wanted to say, and say, this is what I stand for. You know what I mean? And it's really important to him, and it's really important to me. And I think the rest of the guys, that whatever music we're putting out, we fully stand behind and believe in. And right now we just want to take a break to reflect and kind of, I don't know, it's kind of get our chips back in a row and figure out what's the new direction of this band, and how are we going to elevate? How are we going to do something that we've never done before? How do we take the great elements of what we were and go forward with that? Maybe it's with the Face Plants, maybe it's with something else.
Yeah.
Not really sure. So we were kind of in that spot.
Yeah.
Where we identified that, and Dan and I said, well, we don't want to stop making music though. Like, this is us. This is what we've been doing together since we were 12. So how do we flex a new muscle? Well, Dan and I went to Nimbus. We did a bunch of recording all throughout the Faceplant's career. Him and I were always doing the demos, or I was mixing the demos, or doing some live recording, or like I was kind of like the engineer, producer guy in the band.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we kind of just started flexing that muscle a little bit more. And by the time that, we kind of had that realization moment with the Faceplants. Well, Dan too. Dan's always been really good at doing like, this is something that I struggle with. I'm getting better at, but he's always been very good at, like, he can open up a blank Logic session and give him a week and he'll have a fully finished song that he played every instrument on. Like, he's like one of those guys.
Yeah, right.
I saw some Ryan Tedder video and his manager says, I'm 100%er. That's what apparently the LA guys call it, because he can write the melody, write the lyrics, play all the instruments. So he could do 100% of the pie.
Crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not 100%er. I need to work off of him. You know what I mean? I'm not good at coming up with original ideas, but if you gave me a 25% of the pie, I could run with it. You know what I mean? So Daniel's always been good at that, literally since like middle school. He used to just like skip class and go down to the computer lab and like work on GarageBand.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he would do.
Yeah, he can't help himself.
Yeah, so there was and me too, I was really working on my production chops and my mixing chops and really trying to get better and better and better. Mm-hmm. And by the point that we had that realization moment of the Faceplants, Daniel got really good at being that 100%er.
Yeah.
And I got really good at being an engineer and really a supporter of him, a supporter to his production ideas and his songwriting and stuff like that, and helping him take his ideas and GarageBand or Logic now songs to the next level.
Yeah.
And we thought, hey, like, we could really keep on doing this, and maybe if we're not doing Faceplant stuff, let's keep on honing this craft with other people. Let's start spreading out. Because I don't think that the Faceplants, I always tread very lightly with this stuff, but I don't think we were ever quote unquote successful, but I don't think that we were a local band. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, we weren't, not that you need to be signed to be a big band, but we weren't signed. Like, we didn't tour the States, but like, we did play some shows down there, and we did travel across Canada about 12 times or something like that, and we were drawing hundreds of people to our shows. Mm-hmm. So we did and we were on some TV shows. We got some really cool opening slots. Like,
that's right.
We did reach a level that a lot of the smaller bands in Canada knew who we were. Yes. And we were the next level of them.
And they were opening for you guys.
Yes, or even maybe even a little lesser than that, So we were known. Like, we reached a certain level.
Yeah.
So a lot of these artists that we've been working with are people that we've built relationships with through the Faceplants. Maybe these people have seen us play live. Maybe they've heard us on Spotify. Maybe they opened up for us. That's why a lot of the people that we're working with aren't even from Vancouver. Like, we just did a band from Calgary. We're working on a band from Winnipeg right now. We're doing something for the guy from Toronto.
Yes.
Vancouver Island. I think we've worked with 2 people from Vancouver. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Maybe more than that, but I can't really think in the moment right now about it. But it's just through the Faceplant stuff, saying like, hey, like, you guys were kind of the driving force of the band. No disrespect to the other guys, but it's kind of like Daniel and I were the driving force to it. And we kind of just identified that and then started using that driving force to work with other people and elevating them.
Amazing. Right. So you had like the momentum already. You had the fan base. You had the clients, the potential clients were all out there. And you guys had the name. So I see that now. And then obviously there's just, like you said, the drive to not stop. Even if you're not going to put out an album necessarily, you still have to make music. So it just kind of because I've been seeing you, and I'm just thinking like, this is so great. Like, look at this. Garrett's just like transitioned. He's doing some other thing, and now you guys are getting gigs, producing and mixing for other bands. I think it's so great. So
and we will be a band again. I don't know if it'll be the Faceplants. I know Daniel and I will do something together musically. I don't know what it'll be. I kind of have an idea, but I don't want to say it.
I think that's great that you felt you didn't you didn't feel like pressure to just put out an album because we should, it's been a year or whatever. Like you said, you feel really like there needs to be a purpose and something. You need to say something that you believe in. You want to put out a quality project that's something that means something to all of you. And I think
I think
people will respect that. They'll recognize that.
I think that's one thing that I was listening to. I listen to podcasts every day, just on making the commute from Coquitlam to East Vancouver every day, and I've heard this so many times. But like the more and more I get a little bit older and have more experience, I really think this is like right. Is the more the unique the band is, or the song is, and more how honest it is, the better, the further it's going to go. My experience was this for the Faceplants, obviously, because I was in that band. Daniel and I were literally talking about this yesterday, is we have a song called Unholy. And I think when people think of our band, the Faceplants, they think of that song Unholy. That's our biggest song. It wasn't a hit song, it doesn't have 1 million streams on Spotify, but it's got 500,000. It's our biggest song.
Yeah.
It's got more streams on it than anything we've ever done. It was never on a Spotify curated playlist. This is all from fans.
Sure.
It's all word of mouth or whatever. And that song is a weird song. It doesn't go by the standard structure of what a successful song is. And again, not saying it's a successful song, but it's the biggest one we had.
Yeah.
I remember when Daniel kind of had that original idea, it was kind of a piano vocal thing. I remember thinking like, hey, like this is fantastic, but like I'm very structure organized, even with my life. Like I'm very that type of person. And I remember thinking this could be great, but like this isn't going to be a single. But
really?
I like just because. He had that creativity to know that there was something extra to put in this. At that time, I didn't have the perspective to do that.
Yeah.
Now I do. But that song resonated with more people than anything we put out. Like if you wrote in the handbook of what a hit song is or what a successful song is, the other 7 songs on the record have the better format.
Right.
If you were to bet your money on it, I wouldn't have bet my money on that song, but that's the most successful song because it's unique and stands out. Think of a Bohemian Rhapsody,
right?
Think of a 21 Pilots. Think of it might not be unique from a songwriting standpoint, but maybe the genre. Like you think of any artist that blows up, like an Adele. Like what genre is Adele? Is she R&B? Is she pop? Like, is she old school? Is she rock? Like, I don't really know. Like, when she come out, she has such a nostalgic sound.
Yeah.
When it was not going on at the time. It's like, what was 21 Pilots? Are they rap? Are they hip hop? Are they rock? Are they pop?
I know.
I don't fucking know.
I know. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I remember when, there's so many, I can't believe I can't think of it. I remember when Imagine Dragons, that song Radioactive came out, and it was like dubstep feel in a pop rock song, and the whole drums are distorted.
Yeah.
And it was like a smash on rock and pop. It's like the bands that go out of their way to make something unique bridge the gaps between the genres, and it doesn't even matter about genres anymore. It just matters, is this a good song and does it stand out? Lorde, think of Lorde. She's another perfect example of that. Yeah. She's weird as hell. She honestly is. You know what I mean? And she blew up because it's like she really stood out.
Totally, that Royals record.
Yeah,
song of the year at the Grammys. But like you said, I couldn't tell you in a word what it fits in. Like it's just sort of.
It's in its own lane.
It's in its own lane. I mean, and then obviously that brings us to, the Billie Eilish, right? Like, what the fuck is that?
Exactly.
It's resonating with so many people.
Like, man. Is Billie Eilish like a pop star? Like, maybe. Is she's on like rock? She's alternative.
Yeah.
Is there hip hop elements in that?
Yeah.
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 There is no genre. No. You know what I mean? Like, those are the things that.
It just feels good.
It just feels good. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm really discovering is like bands that just find their own unique sound. Doesn't matter about how you do it or the arrangement of it. Like, does it feel good? Does it stand out in the crowd? That's the most important thing. 100%.
Yeah. People are, fans, the people, whatever, they're starving for you know, creativity. They're starving for art. They're starving for something new. You know, we can't just stick to that standard 3.5 minute pop formula and just repeat that till infinity. Like,
Yeah.
It's so exciting when something new comes out. It's so exciting when, you know, God, when trap came out, you know,
Yeah,
and like now it's all rolled hi-hats on every record.
Or think of this isn't, well, everyone's doing this now. Think of when MGK just came out with a punk rock record.
Great example. Yeah.
Like its biggest, it was at the time, biggest album in the world. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I reference it all the time.
Nice,
and I
nice.
love all the artists that is now going that direction. It's getting me a lot more work.
Yeah, hearing a lot of it
that's
now,
my
actually.
roots.
Yeah.
And how cool is that? A punk rock record in 2021 is the number one selling record in the world for a while. Pretty insane, actually, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a cool time to be alive, man. It's a really cool time.
I think this is like honestly like the best time for music because there's no rules.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
Like you and I, you know, or you and I, or a kid in, I don't know, the kid in the Arctic, in his parents' basement, could release banger music that he recorded himself, put it on Spotify, and make a living.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Like anybody can.
It's amazing. This is going to bring us to a whole nother rabbit hole because it is amazing, but then it, you know, the flip side of that is it's very oversaturated, and we do get a lot of just people that have no business owning recording equipment, putting out music, and then if you happen to be really good at self-promotion, really good at social media and stuff, you get a lot more attention than somebody who's 10 times more talented than you. And I see that every single day. I'm part of that. I'm witnessing that here, you know.
I see it with our own releases of the artists that we work on. I think it is what it is though. It's let's just say, for example, like a band, and we've made this mistake in the past with our own music too. It's just the world that we live in now. Say you're paying $10,000 for whatever it is, for your recording, mix, master, just a random number. If you're not putting in at least that same amount into the marketing and releasing of it, what are you doing? Like, it's literally just as important. You think of a movie. Think of any movie. Our old manager told me this, and it's always stuck with me. He might have got it from somebody else, but it doesn't matter. Is like, think about movie budgets, 100 million, 200 million, or whatever it is. Their marketing budgets are more than what the movie was actually made for.
It's gotta be.
It's gotta be because, like, if it's the best song in the world, but like you only keep it into your basement for you, is it really like the best song?
I love that analogy.
You know what I mean?
Dude.
Like
the movie analogy. Like, think about every bus stop's got movie posters at it.
So like, why aren't you pushing it that hard?
Right.
And if you're not believing in it and willing to put in that effort, I get bummed out, man, because like, again, like people are hiring me, you know. Of course I'm doing it for money, but I'm also doing it because I love it, and I love the songs that we're doing, or I love the band, like, and it bums me out that, like, you know, we do all in budgets because I don't want anybody looking at the clock while they're trying to nail the perfect vocal take or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want, like, money and music's like the worst thing ever to be associated with. So I try to get that out of the way as soon as possible.
Good.
And just like,
Smart.
I know how many hours I want to work a month and that I'm willing to do. Can I make a living off of making a certain amount of money in that time? Because even if I don't have an artist booked for a week, I'm still going to be in the studio practicing. So like, I'm cool with it. Anyway, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought here.
You were talking about money and music don't mix, and working on a budget.
Yeah.
Marketing.
So a lot of people will, you know, like blow the budget on the recording, and there's nothing to back it up. And it's just like, man, I put in so much work. I put in like, for like, I don't know, just a random example. I put in 2 weeks of time into 2 songs, you know, 12-hour days, 7 days a week into those songs. Then you make like a tweet saying, here's our new song.
Oh God.
Like a single tweet, or they do it on Instagram and they do it on Facebook, but the Instagram post is the same as the Facebook. So now you got all these weird hashtags in it. I'm like, dudes, like, come on, like, how much money did you just spend on this? How much time and effort? And you're literally, that's it.
You're literally throwing it into the abyss.
And saying, I hope something happens.
Yeah. You're throwing it into the wind and being like, I hope this ends up in the other side of the world where it needs to be. You're throwing a kite into the wind and being like, bye.
and to be fair, there is a certain amount of times you need to do that, though, to learn that you're making mistakes.
Yeah.
Like we did that with the faceplant stuff,
Yeah.
and eventually got to the point where like we learned that we can't do that anymore, and that we actually need to be looking at the bigger picture. And building, none of this is concrete, but building like a 2-month plan for release of a song, a month building it up or 3 weeks building it up, then 3 weeks after.
Totally.
And by the time that month or 6 weeks or 2-month periods after, you already know what's happening after that for the next one.
Yeah, man.
So those
have it all
fans that you built,
Yeah.
now you can move those fans onto that next thing. And if bands aren't doing that or artists aren't doing that, they're shooting themselves right in the foot.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work.
No.
It's not going to work.
This question comes up quite a bit. It's at least 50-50 with the music and the promotion, but and I know it's more with the promotion, but what would you say the ratio is? Like 70-30? Like I sometimes say 80.
Money wise?
No, just of like how much time you have to spend on like getting the song and finishing it versus how much
it should be 50,
equal or more effort you have to put into promoting it and getting people to notice it.
I would say equal or more, I would think. Yeah, and budget-wise, equal or more also. If we took, I don't know, it's hard to say. Like, again, there is no 100%, but I would say equal or more. For everything involved in it, equal or more.
At least, yeah. And you keep using the word budget, which is, amazing, because a lot of people, I think, don't even consider that. Like, yes, they're going to pay Max to come and record and mix and master the song, and great, sounds awesome, I love it. Let's do a couple of Instagram posts, but no, like it should be, you spent this much getting it mixed and mastered, recorded, put the money into not just being active on social media, engaging with your fans and being consistent and all that. That has to happen, but maybe there should also be a budget set aside to push it even further, and that's totally underappreciated.
It just comes down to effort too, right? Like there's so many things that you can do without even spending money, man. Like if you have a song that you truly believe is special, and maybe the engineer, like this is what we used to do the faceplant stuff too, and I still kind of do it. We would finish a song and I would send it to a few peers in the quote unquote industry that I truly respected, or maybe we'd be 90% done. Say, what do you honestly think? And they would say, chorus should be cut in half, or sounds great, this is going to slay rock playlists, or wow, this is awesome, we should radio track it, or cool, this sounds like a B-side, but like probably not a single, like whatever the opinion is, it doesn't really matter. But now once you have those outside opinions, or say people really have faith in the song, start sending it to like people at SoCan in Canada, send it to people at labels, who's managing your favorite bands in a similar genre to you, who's booking agents in town, send it to all the bands you want to play with across Canada or across North America. Let them know that you're good.
Yeah.
Let them know that maybe you're not at the point yet. Maybe it's not even released, but let them know like you guys got some fire, or they should like, oh shit, like this band's from Vancouver. Oh, and that sounds awesome. Like 6 months later, we're going to be touring Vancouver. Okay. Like maybe they'll think of you. You know what I mean? It's like spreading that, like all that, like if you put in like a full week of just sending emails out or Instagram DMs or something like that, like 90% of the people probably won't respond to you, but it doesn't matter. That 10% could change everything.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And like the only thing about that is time and effort. And if you're willing to put in the time and effort to get the song to me, for me to get it across the finish line, you should be able to put the time and the effort to make sure that this song becomes the biggest it can be, because that affects your career and my career. And to be honest, a lot of the time I'm willing to help with that because my name's on it too. You know what I mean too?
Oh, I 100% get you, and I'm literally in that situation right now with a few people. So I'm glad we're getting a chance to talk about it and share ideas, because it's so freaking important. And it hurts honestly sometimes. It just feels like you said, we put stupid amounts of time into the engineering and the music side, and then just to see it all kind of fizzle away. Like I've stepped up now to the point where I'm like, I'm going so far above and beyond to try and prevent that shit, just to educate, to speak up, to try and help out, just to be like, this isn't quite good enough.
Yeah.
We got to do a little bit better. Anything you need from me, I give people my phone number. I give, hit me up if you have questions. Like, let's do this together. Like, I'm going so far beyond just being the engineer now. Because, and I don't do this for everybody. It's the people that are truly like, I know this
who
music.
You're stoked on and who you believe
this
in.
music is good. I'm stoked on, but it's like, I can't sit idly by and just watch this fizzle out. I can't. Like, it's.
And do you want to? Maybe some of the biggest songwriters in the world would totally disagree, and maybe they say, like, the song is king, but maybe they say, you know what, you guys aren't working on the best songs ever. You know what I mean? Like, maybe someone might say that. But man, I could count on my fingers, more than my fingers, how many times I swear to God that I've heard a hit song from a local band, and the only thing that didn't make it a hit was the promotion of it, especially in Canada, because everyone gets stuck in Canada. Like, I was literally talking about it yesterday. Daniel and I were playing some of our favorite bands from a couple years ago who are local bands or signed local. No, I shouldn't say local bands. Bigger bands in Canada who are signed, but like they're not like making a living doing it or whatever. Kind of like where the Faceplants were at, type of thing like that.
Yeah.
And I would hear songs and I'm like, this is a hit song.
Yeah.
Like, it's got that magic, into it.
Sure.
Like, undeniable. Like, anybody you play this from is going to say this is a fantastic song, and it will have like 30,000 streams on it.
Yeah.
And it's just a bummer. It's honestly,
it's a bummer.
It's a bummer. And there is so many bands like that around. And again, maybe somebody will come like hear this and say, you know what, I disagree with it. But I think there is, maybe it's not a whole truth, but there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, it's weird because there is a certain level of just luck in this as well. Some songs just like some SoundCloud rapper song will just blow up for no reason. Like, but
there's obviously a huge amount of talent behind it. The product had to be super good for it to blow up.
Like Post Malone came out of SoundCloud, right? And he was just putting songs out there for a bit. And I mean, look at him now. I don't know anything about how he came up or who he had working with him, who his manager was, but I know like that's kind of where it all started, right? And so it can happen. I mean, but yeah, the music industry is so weird, man. Like, there's just all these, there are formulas, but then there's all the variables too, and it's you kind of gotta not ignore. You got to use a little bit of everything to make it work. You have to be multi-talented, multi-versed, and that was one of the reasons why too that Daniel and I wanted to get into the production and stuff like that too. Being a band is such an amazing thing, and especially getting to experience the stuff that we did, like booking our own tours or playing some really cool opening slots. It was like the last year and a half that the Faceplants were really active. We had the opportunity to open up for like a Snoop Dogg and a Sublime with Rome and a guy called Tyler Shaw and Smash Mouth and all these people. And I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm saying that as an example of the level of artists we were playing with. Yeah.
And man, it elevates you. Yeah. Knowing that like there's no team behind us, like you're on the same stage as them, man. Yeah. Like, of a world-class artist.
Yeah.
You gotta be good.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like you're playing against some like bands that have no idea what their instruments are and stuff like that. And like, it's true. It's not like you're playing with some opening band where it makes you look incredible. Yeah. Dude, you're opening up for like Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to blow it?
Yeah.
Or do you want to be good?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
It's true. It adds a lot of pressure, but it's kind of like the make it or break it moments of it. And going through those scenarios, or like I said, booking our own tours or recording our own demos, gives you a lot of different perspective of what you need to do as an artist and what it takes. Like, the more you see successful artists and really dive deeper into their careers and like interviews, typically guys like a Drake or a Billie Eilish or I don't know, like Ed Sheeran, Taylor Swift, these are very intelligent people. You know, even like an MGK, he's like, MGK is like the last rock star, I think. Like, he's truly a rock star, and he comes off as like just whatever, I'm drunk and high all the time, but he has to have a certain level of intelligence that he knows his branding and his career better than anybody, especially to make that shift that he did. Like, these people are very intelligent people.
Oh yeah, and to totally to be able to navigate to that level and like, you know, see through all the bullshit, deal with the pressure, deal with all the politics and the people trying to snipe you. Like, yeah, I mean, it's not accidental.
No, it's their world-class artists and their world-class brains, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, oh,
too.
absolutely.
Personalities too.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard a few times like Tyler, the creator, who comes across like he's got this. I don't know how to describe his image, but his whole thing is like he just seemed like he's like stupid. Kind of like he acts stupid and dumb and just kind of like ignorant and weird, but then like in interviews and stuff, he's apparently just super intelligent. So that's like all an act. That's like his image. That's a character. Right. And then behind it, you've got this like mastermind who's like,
for sure.
And there's probably so many examples.
Self-awareness, right?
Self-awareness.
It's all these people are the kings of self-awareness. Hopefully.
Yeah. So what's next? What's next for you? Are you starting a new project soon? Are you wrapping some things up right now? Like,
I just finished. So let me think of my virtual calendar and schedule here. So I just finished up 6 songs for that band Waterfront. Yeah, they're from Alberta. We just finished a song with a band called Quadra Sound. They're from Vancouver Island. Song's incredible. Super excited about this one. I think this is the best mix and production we've done yet.
Awesome.
So really happy about that. But I feel that way for every new thing we do. Like,
it's a constant
if you're not feeling like that, you're going in the wrong direction.
Yes.
I just mixed a song for a band called Brace Yourself, which is from... Actually, I think they're from Texas or Arizona. I think Arizona, maybe. I don't know.
Cool.
I don't really know how I got in contact with them through Instagram or whatever. They're kind of like a hardcore punk rock band. Pretty cool. They're great guys, good songs, and they're doing really well in their area. They're really pushing it. They're making all the right moves so far.
Yeah.
Then there's an artist called Mark Ledlin. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. It's kind of like a folk artist that we're working with starting this month. He was on The Voice in Germany.
Oh, dope.
He plays hockey professionally in Germany, and he's here because of COVID.
And also is a singer-songwriter.
And he's starting his singer-songwriter career. So we're going to be doing that at the end of the month.
Yeah.
And Quadra Sound, their lead singer, Nick, he's also doing some solo stuff. I think I might be ruining all the artists that we're working with plans by just like telling everybody that we've done songs with them. Whatever. But Nick's, he's doing some solo stuff too. So we finished a song with him a couple months ago, and I think we might be doing 1 or 2 more coming up here in the next month or so. Then we got a guy called Justin Maddock, who's a country singer, and we're doing 2 songs with him. That's a little bit further down the road. That's going to be probably in September. But yeah, we'll be doing that with him, and we've already done 3 songs with him. So I think he's kind of bundling this up as a 5-song EP. So yeah, it's good. Lots of stuff, but it's also multi-genre stuff, which is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's great going from country folk to punk rock music. Quadra Sound's more of classic rock. Waterfronts is more a modern punk rock band with pop elements. It's a lot of fun, and just trying to Daniel and I have been talking about trying to get our feet wet and start working on some original stuff right now too.
Some which? Sorry?
Some original stuff.
Oh, original. Yeah, right.
So whatever that next evolution is going to be for our own music.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going really good. So we're just starting to book up stuff for next year and trying to put some feelers out and go from there.
Were you finding that you're getting most of your work? Are people like, is it your website? Is it people see you guys on DM and just hit you up like, hey, we got a project, you want to mix it? Like, where is it coming from mostly?
Good question. I got to figure that out.
Yeah.
So we can get more work. But no, we're really busy. But a lot of it's at the beginning, it's me reaching out. It's kind of letting people know, because we didn't really make it public about the face plants like taking a break or anything like that, or us shifting to the studio.
Sure.
Like, I don't know. With Daniel and I just didn't want to make it a big deal. Yeah. Like, we're just kind of like, it's always just been Daniel and I doing the Facebook and stuff. So nothing's changed. It's just we're working on music for other people.
Yeah.
So like, it didn't need to be some big deal or whatever. So I kind of just like reached out to some artists that I thought were cool or had something unique about them that I was like, hey, like, maybe the band's at this level, but I think the songwriting's at this level. Like, I think we could take it up a notch. You know what I mean? Or like Quadra Sound, your music's fantastic, but Nick is such a talented lead singer. He also has such a unique voice, and I immediately identified with that, and I was like, we need to work with this guy.
Awesome. Yeah.
So a lot of it was me reaching out saying, hey, some of these people we knew, like, hey, catching up, just touching base with you again. Like, it was great playing a show with you a year ago. Hope COVID's been going well, but like Dan and I have been doing some more production stuff. If you'd be interested in doing a write together, working together, I think it could be really cool. And it's not really a pitch. It's more of like a touching base type of thing.
Yeah, just networking.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of did that to a handful of people that I thought. This was probably last June or last April. Okay. And, going from there. Yeah. We got a couple artists, and our resumes grew when we had finished that, and the quality got a little bit better. And mostly right now it's been returning artists who we've already worked with, which is always good because you're doing something right. And word of mouth. If you start working on a bunch of people and they never come back to you, you should be losing sleep at night.
Just scratching your head, figuring that one out.
Figuring that one out. But it's been mostly that, and but to be honest, I think I'll probably start reaching out to some more people, trying to fill up our schedule for next year. Try to just more people we've been in contact with in the future now that we have a little bit more of a bigger resume and a lot of stuff that we're really proud of. Yeah. To try to maybe produce and write with some bands that are maybe where the Faceplants level was. Yeah. Or, even not. Like, try to be more specific on the people that we're working with. Not saying that anybody I've worked with in the past, it wasn't great, because I love all of them and I'm very proud of it. But it's just like, I don't know. You're always trying to take that next step up the staircase or whatever, or up the ladder or whatever you want the analogy to be. And that's what we're doing next. And with that, it comes us trying to level up our studio, also trying to get a bigger space where we can accommodate more people in it and be in-house with our budgets instead of giving the money to somebody else.
Are you guys still sharing with that other gentleman?
Yeah, his name's Tarun. He was in a group called Delhi to Dublin. So he's in it on Wednesdays and Sundays. Yeah. We're in it the rest of the time. Okay. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay. And we just do it like lockout days, where like a Monday I could go from 6 a.m. in the morning till midnight or 2 a.m. to like whatever, right? Like, it's like we have set days. Yeah. So it's just however much work we need to get done, we get done.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
And it's nice on the weekends, like today, right before I came here, I just was doing some emails. Yeah. Wednesdays. Well, it's good to take days off too. Like Sundays is day typically for me and my girlfriend. Yeah. But I try to do some emails here and there, just stuff that I don't want to be doing when I'm in the studio working on stuff. Yeah. Or today's the day of learning. I'm going to go on Mix with the Masters and see if I can pick up any techniques today.
That's good.
And bring them into the studio for a mix I'm working on tomorrow. Awesome. Oh, there's a band called Sleepless from Winnipeg too that we're working with right now that we're really, really excited on their song. That's what I'm going to try it on. We're just in kind of like a little bit past the demo stage with them. Like, we're just doing MIDI drums with them and stuff like that. So the MIDI drums are pretty dialed in, and we got some rough bass, rough guitars in. But just like seeing if I can get any tidbits to further it in the direction that we're already going in. Even if you don't have all the elements in, I still feel like you can be doing that stuff.
Amazing. You probably don't see this with, the folk music and the rock and the indie stuff as much, but I want to get your perspective on something, because it really drives me nuts. So a big issue that I deal with rappers, let's just be honest, is people booking time and just coming with nothing.
So being unprepared.
Yeah. And I know you work a little differently, because you were saying how you like to work on a budget rather than being like, okay, we're on a clock, you got this much time to do your song today.
Well, to be honest, can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
Sometimes doing that though is better, Because if you know you're on the clock, you're not coming in to waste time because you're paying more.
Yes, sure.
Sorry, keep going, but yeah.
No, that's fine. I see where you're going with that. I don't know where this misconception comes from, where they get this idea from, but I get way too often guys who I know are not rich, who are probably working a construction job or wherever, paying rent and coming to the studio, should be a big deal for them because it doesn't happen every week. It's
once a month
or whatever.
Every couple months.
Booked my time at 2-Track. I got a session with Max. Hey guys, how's it going? We got 3 hours today. What did you want to work on? Did you want to email me a beat? Whatever, however the conversation starts. And when I get this response, go to YouTube and we'll YouTube to MP3 this beat. And I'll be like, okay, don't like where this is going already. And then they'll follow that up by saying, yo, just play the beat. I like to vibe it out. I'm going to just like essentially freestyle in the booth or write it on my phone as we go. I just want to like shoot myself in the head. Like I try like with every ounce of my self-control to like not to like stay professional and just be like, okay, this is happening. We're going to go ahead with this. Try not to be disrespectful or whatever. But I don't get it. I don't get where this like audacity comes from that they're just going to show up and something's going to happen. Like when I started out recording, when I started out making songs, I fucking wrote my shit down. I memorized my stuff. I knew all my lyrics. I had the song ready. I was recording.
You probably even knew what your ad libs were going to be.
Everything, man. And this, when the couple of times that we were able to like get some money together and go to a studio in Victoria, because we used to record ourselves.
Yeah.
And my friends and my cousin and I, we had little basement setups and we'd record our songs and whatnot. But like, my God, if we were going to a studio, it was like because we had our shit fucking nailed, man. And it's like, we're going to pay.
Or you're going in there to impress.
We're going in there to impress. We're going in there because like the song's ready and we're going to record it and it's going to,
Like you did the demo. Now it's time to do the real thing.
Absolutely. We did the demo and now we're going to the studio. But there is, far too often, and I talked to Denton about this too, and he doesn't seem to be as bothered by it as I am, because I know he takes a lot more sessions than me, and he I've been focusing a lot more on mixing and taking less sessions, but it still happens, and I've been doing this 15-16 years now, so I know better. But like, what are your thoughts on that? Is that okay? Do you see that in the genre you work with? Am I okay? Am I wrong in feeling this, or is because there's also this the studio is a place to come to be creative, and play the music. I'm gonna write my song now. I'm gonna get in the vibe. Maybe I don't have a place to write at home because I live with my parents, or I've got an annoying roommate who walks around in his underwear eating cold pizza, talking to himself all day. And the studio is my place to escape. I've heard that, and artists have literally said that to me before, but I don't give a fuck. Write it in the park. Write it in your car.
Yeah.
Anywhere. Don't come here and disrespect me like that, man. It just feels like such a fucking slap in the face. It just really does.
I don't know. It's hard to say because I have felt that too. Like, I think you're similar to my personality, that you're probably a very organized person, very like things structured in your life. And, that 3 hours of time, you want that to be structured. You want it to be productive. And at the end of it, you want it to feel like you put in a good hard work and something that you're proud of, and that person did the exact same. And it sounds like it's not the case.
And don't get me wrong, this isn't every single time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would pick a new career. But when it does happen, it bothers me enough,
It's tricky because it's like, I don't know, because some people are good. Because I have recorded some rappers. Actually, recently, there's this one guy that I do a session with about once a month. We just do a vocal session, normally to a beat, or I convince him to buy stems.
Right.
Then the next morning after, I'll do a mix. So I'll do a all-in budget of a vocal production, editing, tuning, comping, and a mix.
Nice.
So sometimes he's super dialed in. And again, I do it as an all-in budget. I don't do it per hour just because like I don't want him to feel pressured. But at the same time, that has burned me before. Of he likes to work late, so like he will start at 8 p.m. Sometimes we're not getting out of there till 4 in the morning, and I'm not super stoked on that because I get to the studio at 7 a.m. every morning. and so I was already there from 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. to the session starts. Then I go to 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Then I need to come back the morning after to do that mix because I have other shit to do later that night. So it kind of ticks me off for that. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, you win some, you lose some. It's almost, I just think of it as, I don't know, it's the personality of the artist. I think people who come in prepared are probably going to have longer careers, or probably the songs are going to go further because I think they'll have more of the, let's say, I don't want to say intelligence, but more of the thought process of, it needs to be more than just the song. It's tying into what we said earlier about the release and stuff like that. Well, some people are, maybe they're just less experienced and not sure of what to do yet. It's hard to say because I've heard so many stories of huge artists that go in and just freestyle something, and that's the record.
And I've worked with them. I've had them in this room.
I've
seen the other side of this puzzle.
It's a case by case basis, and I don't think there is a solid answer for it. I think the answer is maybe for you in that case where they're booking 3 hours of time, maybe you just hold your breath for that, and realize that you're here for the 3 hours, and this is just something that you're getting paid for those 3 hours, and at the end of it you're not necessarily tied to it. It's not something that you're proud of, but hey, I'm still doing what I love to do. I'm making music. I'm not at my desk right now in some office that I hate, and if they don't want to come prepared, that's their career, man.
I definitely will say that I take it personally, and I know that that's my problem. That's my own problem, that I'm so offended by how
I have though too, but I've learned that it's not my fault.
No, it's not. It's
not your fault. They're not doing like Max is an idiot. I'm coming unprepared. Max, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like you have to have a common ground because you don't want to be so flexible that they do that to you every time, but you want to be like also cool that like they trust you and you're like, this guy isn't whack because he's like calling me out, or like now this isn't a fun experience. Now it's a negative thing. It's like, dude, it's like therapist shit. Yeah.
No. And I don't, I sometimes maybe do go too far and like call them out on it, and or just like you use the word therapist shit. Like, man, the amount of times I've sat an artist down right where you're sitting and just had like a heart to heart with them in this room,
like what we're doing right now,
is just like all the fucking time, because I deal with I work with a lot of artists that are brand fucking new that need guidance, man.
Me too, to be honest. Yeah. I don't think I have enough heart to hearts with the artists, to be honest. I think I do. I think Daniel and I do everything right. Not okay. We can always improve, but I think if everything that we've learned, I think the experience is great. I think that everybody feels comfortable. Everyone can speak freely. Everyone can talk about the lyrics freely. I don't think anybody's nervous to record with us. I don't think anybody leaves our studio saying this was a negative experience. So I think those are all right. We have everybody has returned who we've worked with. So right there, you're doing the right thing. Yeah. But at the same time though, it's like almost that first time you need to be hesitant because you don't barely know these people. You're just building this relationship. The second time you come to me, it can be a lot harder on you. You know what I mean? It's true, right? Yeah. Because now I know your personality. Now I know what you can handle, what we can joke about, what happens with this, how long the process takes. That second, I'll be more honest with you about everything.
Yeah.
And I think maybe for some of the artists that I've worked with the next time, or even like, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the room together, but after the fact, I'll be like, hey guys, like we created something really special here that I truly believe in. What's the fucking plan that this is going to get heard? And what can I do to make sure this plan goes into action?
That's a really important
like
thing to
that's
say.
that's the conversation that we have to have more, that I feel like we haven't been having enough.
Yeah.
But it's also hard though, man, because like we're making a living off of doing this, and I need to move on to the next project.
Yeah.
And I only have so many hours in the day, and I also have a relationship with my girlfriend who I love very much and who I don't see at all a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That 2 hours a night I see her is very special to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
or
man.
like that Sunday is really special to me or whatever. But if I do have to put in that little extra effort, I will. But it's a tricky conversation. You need to definitely have a dialogue of, you know, experience with these people before you lay down the law.
Yeah. No, and it's you know, being an engineer, being a professional, owning a studio is about creating good first impressions as well too. Like you don't want to be that hard ass when they first meet you, like,
because I've had that. I've had the worst studio experiences ever.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
Tell
dude.
me, you have a couple examples if you have some. I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, actually, maybe I won't give full examples, but
You don't have to name names, obviously.
No,
but
I won't. But you know, Nick from Quadrasound, who I mentioned earlier, I remember after we finished the first song together, Nick's quite funny. He's a very intelligent guy, super creative, amazing vocalist. And I'm at my desk, and we're listening to like not the rough mix, but like the playback of what we accomplished, like before they leave. Ooh, my mic stand's going down here. Before they leave, and Nick comes up to me, and he's just so quiet, like comes up to my ear, and he's just like, "Why are you guys so good?" And I'm like, whoa, like, what do you mean? He's like, how old are you? I'm like, I don't know. 28?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm like 26. And he's like, why are you guys so good at 28? Like, don't you need like a lifetime of experience for this shit? Like, he was very happy with what he did, but he was almost like questioning like why we were so good so young, or something like that. Which I guess is pumping me up a little bit, but I don't say that to have like an ego or anything. I say it for this story is, I said, Nick, I've been playing in a band since I was 12 years old. I said, I took every negative experience we have ever had and done the opposite for you guys. And that's why you're happy with the product.
Ooh, good answer.
And he was like, oh, wow. You know what I mean? Like, we've had some bad ones. And because we've been on both sides of the glass, per se. You know what I mean? I've been an artist. I've been super nervous. First thing we ever did, I was 18 years old. You spend thousands and thousands of dollars to work with this producer who's in some bigger band, and you think that you're going to get all these opportunities, and this is your shot. Then you get in there, and they treat you like crap, and they treat you like garbage, or maybe, I don't know, maybe your guitar playing isn't up to par. But at 18 years old, how do you know that playing live is completely different than playing in the studio? And it's certain things that now I've developed, and I'm 10 times the better player than I am when I was 18 years old now. But it's stuff like that where I dealt with these things now that I do this for a living. I've dealt with 18-year-old Garrett before, and I handled it in a different way where I got them better results than what we did back in the day. And I ended up being happy and not having PTSD from that studio experience. And I've had them come back.
Yeah.
I never went back to that producer. And I've heard a lot of negative things. I have so many negative stories about it, and it's the worst. It honestly is the worst that, just like, you know, because like you're 18 years old, you're very impressionable, and like you don't know what's going on. I don't know 100% what's going on right now. Neither do you, and neither do their bands who we work with who are maybe a 25-year-old, 26-year-old.
Right.
We're all learning and stuff like that, right? So it's like just showing respect to everybody and giving people the benefit of the doubt. And if they're doing something wrong, or maybe aren't at the level that they could be at, instead of bullying them down about it, you know, learn, talk to them about it. Say, hey, I was in your same spot.
Yeah.
This is what I did to improve.
Totally.
Focus on this, and it's going to go faster next time, but don't worry. This is still going to be great what we're doing right now. Next time you come in the studio, it's going to be even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like right there, you took a negative to a positive. Yes, you told them the truth. Now you've gained their trust, but now you've also improved them as a player and as a person, to be honest. And now they trust you because I could have, I don't know, I would say a guitar player sucks and he's in the studio with me. As soon as he leaves, I could replay his parts. I could, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather it being a learning opportunity and for them to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I'd rather put in 4 hours and work with them and get it and spend time instead of me replaying the parts and putting in maybe an hour. I'd rather do that because the next time they come in, they become a better musician. Their band gets better. Their next time the recording goes faster. There's zero negative of it. If I just didn't say anything and replayed their parts, the next time they come working with me, it's going to be the exact same situation.
Yeah.
There's going to be no growth.
You're actually hurting yourself.
You're actually hurting yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like a lot of people will think in that moment that just bullshit and acting your way through it and redoing it after is going to be the better thing. But it's actually hurting yourself for the future. It's like you're not investing in yourself then for the future or that band.
Absolutely. And that's why I do go and have these conversations or sit artists down and be like, because I can see them struggling. I can feel it. And it's maybe like 3-4 sessions and it's just like, there's no improvement. There's no, and a big thing that I like to bring up is, what's your setup like at home? If you're number one, if you are an aspiring artist seriously trying to do this, you got to own a MacBook, okay? Just for emails, at least, to promote yourself, to get your website, but so that you can have at minimum some sort of software at home to record your demos. Inexpensive USB mic is like $90, $100.
Yeah, one of those blue desktop mics or whatever. Dude, screw it. SM58 and right into your Focusrite interface, man. Perfect.
So there's the level for entry is so
the ceiling to entry
is nothing at all. And a lot of artists don't really consider that. Like I was saying before, like coming to the studio, I like to use the analogy like this is game day. Like you practice at home, but when you come to the studio, like you put in all the time and work, and today's the competition. Today's the game day. The bright lights are on when you're at the studio. Learning your voice is no different than learning an instrument.
Dude, it's harder.
But it's way harder.
Yeah. Because too, you can't change that instrument. No, like you can get better at it. But some people are born with it, some people aren't.
Yeah.
But that's the same with talent with instruments too. Sorry for cutting you off.
No, it's okay. So I like to use the analogy of would you go to Tom Lee or Long McQuaid or wherever, drop, I don't know, whatever a good guitar costs, $1,000 plus, or I want to learn the violin. I'm going to go buy a nice violin made in Italy with a nice case, bring it home. Would you buy an instrument and then just book a studio session the next week? No, you're going to learn the shit out of that before you're ready to put it in front of a microphone, hopefully. And your voice is no different. Like, I say this all the time, rapping in the car, rapping in the shower, rapping to your homies in the 7-Eleven parking lot is night and day different than when you have the headphones on, the music's playing, and you hear your voice back. And you, oh my God, the timing. Oh my God, where my breath's going. Oh my God, my flow. Oh my God, my emphasis, my cadence. All the intricacies require you to put in time and effort and learn that instrument, right? So having a setup at home, I tell every single young artist that I work with, that will help you so much. That will speed up your growth in so many ways. If you can just have a little spot at home to learn your voice and hear yourself in the headphones, practice your takes, do your demos, then bring them here.
I remember too, like a negative thing. This isn't like we had this experience, but this happens to a lot of bands and stuff. Like I don't know if the hip hop community or rapping is different from this, but for say that Waterfront band. So they're the last artist I did a batch of songs for. 6 songs. What we do for the scheduling for the week of us tracking, or a week and a half or whatever it was tracking. Traditionally, back in the day, you would do drums first, bass first, guitars first, then vocals last. what we actually do is we do vocals every single night. Not every single night, but the majority of the nights. Because the worst thing that you can do to your vocalist is leave them to sing 6 songs in 2 days. No singer is prepared to sing 8 hours a day.
That's a fuck ton.
What live performance have you seen that a guy's going balls out for 8 hours? It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
No.
You go to a concert and someone's giving her, it's 2 hours max, maybe 3 hours. And especially even a live concert, sometimes they're not even 100% giving her the whole time. In the studio, you are. Because you're trying to catch that magic.
No backing tracks in the studio.
No backing tracks in the studio. Don't worry, we already got them in. Yeah. We already sung them before you arrived.
Oh my God.
But anyway, it's like that was one of the big things is when we were younger, being 18 years old. And this wasn't me. I'm not the lead singer of the Faceplants. Daniel is, Daniel, dude, I'm not blowing smoke. He's one of the best singers I know by far.
Unbelievable singer.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So he wasn't at the level where he's at now, obviously, when he was 18. But you and I both know how good Daniel is. Imagine putting him, an 18-year-old guy, into a studio and giving him 4 days to record 6 songs to the best of his ability. Then everything's a negative. That take wasn't the best, so let's keep going. You know, that's not what you want.
No.
And vocals are the most important part of the production and record. So what we do now is, and I don't know why more people don't do it, is we'll do vocals every other night. Because then normally the first song too, the vocalist is getting settled in. He's seeing how he interacts with Dan and I. He's seeing how the flow goes, how we do doubles, how we do harmonies, how it's a good gauge for Daniel and I. How long is this going to take roughly per song? Can the singer do the leads and the harmonies in one night? Or do we need to stop, take a break? That's all his voice can handle. Let's do the harmonies another day. Or, stuff like that. Like really helps you gauge. If you left all that stuff to the end, man, I bet you could see the stress building on the vocalist's face throughout the week as it's getting closer and closer and closer to vocals. And you know what? If you don't finish in time, the singer let everybody down. Yeah. Which nobody wants that pressure.
That is not how you set somebody up for success.
No,
it's not smart. No. So that's great, dude. Yeah. Pepper him in here and there, right?
And he feels comfortable every song gets better. You start with the easiest song. Song so Dan and I can gauge how it is. And once you're at the 3rd, 4th song in, he's dialed, man, because now like he's been doing this, he's like really dialed into how the vocal sounds, how the compression is, how the mixes are. And I'll make sure it's the same every single time. I know what effects he wants. Yeah. It goes super fast.
Great.
And by the last day, normally whenever we do a production, I have we call it like the oh fuck day. Like I always put in an extra day just like in case. So like say that first day, maybe he was just getting used to it, a little having rough. Maybe by the 2nd song, 3rd song, 4th song, he was more dialed in. Last day, we'll go back to the first song and see if we want to recut any of those lines. Because now his vocals are way better and more warmed up throughout the week. So we can redo some of that stuff on the first day.
Oh, smart.
Or if we didn't get any harmonies. And I'm comping and tuning throughout the week too.
Yes. Yeah.
So like say night 1 when we do vocals, say day 1, Daniel and I will do demos to start with so that when the drummer comes in, he's playing to bass and guitars and a scratch vocal. So it's more sounds like the song. So that day we'll do drums. I'll edit all the drums and that night we'll cut vocals. By the time the band comes in the next morning, the vocals are comp tuned, the drums are edited and sampled. Yeah. So by the time they come in to track bass, it's like 50% done.
Yeah.
And like I find that really important. Makes me have a long day. Makes me have a lot of work to do. But it's important for me that every morning they have something to look forward to and it's exciting about and it's finished sounding. I want it to be as close to a record in the tracking process as I can. I'll even have a mix bus going on the whole time we're tracking. Nice. Nothing crazy, but like I'll have an SSL, a Pultec, and my L2 on it.
Yeah.
And just to glue it a little bit more together. Because if you take all of that stuff, it could be night and day, but it's not a big enough change that the moves I'm making into it aren't going to, if I take it off, the whole thing falls apart. Yeah. Like it's not like that. But just because I want it to sound like a record, I want it to sound as close to being done as we're tracking everything.
Yeah, you want to do anything you can to get the singer into to the perfect vibe, the headspace, just the feeling. Like, you don't want them recording over raw stems, you know?
Yeah. And actually, like we were talking about templates, that's when I use templates a lot. And like, I'll use certain drum samples that I know really work a lot of the time. I'll use certain, I don't know, compressors or chains or parallel groups that just sound really good, that I have trust with them. Not saying that these are staying on, and I change it all the time. I might have it on while they're there, and as soon as they go, I zero the whole session and restart.
Okay.
But I want them to feel that excitement.
Yeah.
I want that first interaction when the drummer hears the next day the 4 songs he just tracked. He's like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, we're going in the right direction.
I know why we came to these guys now.
Yeah,
And when the next day when he tracks bass, fuck yeah, this bass is the best bass. Like, I want that reaction, because that was the reaction that I was always hoping for when I was in a band recording with somebody else. And sometimes I got it and sometimes I didn't. So I took that negative of not getting it and I made it a positive, that every time they hear the song, it sounds better.
Nice.
So I always used to hate that. Like, say you would track guitars on Thursday with a guy and you're coming to cut vocals on Sunday. I would hate it when we would get into the studio and it sounded like the guy hadn't touched the session since the last time we showed up. The guitar levels are all over the place and he's not ready to cut the vocal. He's still got to comp something, or guys, give me half an hour or go in the lounge for a second. It's not good experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like everybody was doing that, but I make that a big priority of when the band's there, everything's already set up. If I know the band's coming in at 10 a.m. to track bass, 15 minutes before, I get a bass sound, I use our bass, get a tone that I'm like 80% happy with. So when the bass player comes in, plug it in, I dial in that 20% and we're ready to go within 10 minutes.
Isn't it cool how your whole life has led up to this? Like, how well oiled and how well experienced and all the goods and the bads have led you to actually be such a great producer. You never, like, maybe you never knew you would be. Maybe it was always like, oh, I'll be a guitar player in a band. But now, like, everything you've learned, right? Like, I'm hearing you talking about it and you sound so sure and so confident of everything you're saying. And I know you are, but it's so cool how like all these moments have just built up to this, and you know what to avoid now. You know how to give the best experience to the artist. It's so great.
Man, I've come to realize that the experience is just as important as the final product. Like, I could give, again, I don't know if this is true because I only have my own perspective of it, and I hope everybody would like my mix or my production by the end of it. But I feel like if I gave them the best studio experience they've ever had, but my production or my mix was 15% less than what they wanted it to be, they would still come back to me. Because they know that it was the best.
It's the journey.
It was the journey. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
You know, we're stern with our bands, but we're also we're not. This is where I tread lightly. I think we are friends with these guys, but I try to tread that line that like that you can still have leadership to provide them, but you're also not Hitler. You know what I mean? Like, it's that fine line between them that like you're cool. You could.
Yeah.
Like, I want to have the relationship that anybody I work with could pick up the phone and phone me right now and be like, dude, what's going on? Like, how are you doing? But when we're in the studio, if I say like, guys, I truly believe this needs to change,
they trust
They trust me for that.
No, we could do a whole podcast on that dynamic right there of like, you know, what you just said there. It's so delicate, but when when it works, it's like shit's working, man, and we're
because you want to be respected. You don't want to be a bro, but you want to be like it's again a lot of this stuff's fine line, man.
Oh man, and I've gone too far the other way where I'm just like, you know, not that I'm not respected, but it's just like, you know, oh, we're bros now, and I feel like there's I'm not the professional anymore. It's like people want deals, they want favors, they want this and that. It's like, and it's going way beyond the studio now, and it's just like, okay, you know, got to tone it down. There's still a job to be done here.
and you're talking about deals and stuff like that too. Like, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, I find it so funny. I was talking to Nigel at the studio the other day. We went to hang out at his studio, and I think it's fucking hilarious when bands are trying to like get you. And honestly, we haven't had this experience. but like I just think it's funny, the situation, and I'm thankful I haven't had this experience. But like when bands are trying to strike deals with you, it's like, dude, I'm making your record, bro. Like, don't you want this to be the best it can be?
Yeah.
Like, don't nickel and dime me like $200 or whatever it is. Like, say your budget's $1,000 or a couple thousand a song or whatever it is, right? Like, don't try to undercut me at $500 because, like, dude, you're the one who's gonna lose. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, don't you want me to put the most effort possible into this? And again, I get it, because I was in a band. Like, I see where they're coming from it. But at the same time, though, it's like you don't want to be nickel and diming.
Or I don't know many other professions where like there's
like
this
if you went to
idea.
the dentist, when you went to the dentist and they're like, yeah, we got to give you a root canal and it's gonna be $5,000.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like, yo, but could you do it for $3,500? like you don't, when you're getting surgery, like, say you're down in the States paying for a surgery, like, do you want the guy who's gonna be doing your heart surgery to give you a 50% deal?
Like Canada Day special.
Yeah.
No, it's strange, right? Because and it always has, for me, it's my experience has always been, if I do more, will there be a deal? It's not, I never get deals on one, but it's like, I got an EP I'm putting together 8 songs. Like, is there a deal if I do multiple songs? What other like profession exists where there people are trying to cut deals
Actually,
like that?
Sorry,
Like,
I will go back on one thing though. We have given deals to people who have worked with us for the first time. Say there's a band that I'm really stoked on, and I'm like, I know that if we do one song with these guys, we're gonna lock them in for an EP. Or like, I know that we're gonna have a future with these guys. I will give a deal just to get them in the door.
I've considered that. I haven't actually tried it yet.
I think it works, man.
I might give that a go.
But you also have to be very confident in your abilities and realize the direction that they want and that yours is together. You know, you have to be very confident in that.
Yeah. Again, really fine line with that, but and I've done that. I've done that in the past. You know, I've definitely cut deals for 14 song album or this or that.
Yeah. Like maybe we would probably do that, but like we've never gone over 6 or whatever.
Yeah,
we've never done a full album with somebody.
And
there's been talks of us doing it with some bands, but I don't know.
It's still, it's like it's 6 songs. Like, what do you like? You're paying, but you want to pay for 5? I don't get this.
I don't know. I wouldn't do that, because there's going to be a point that, like, when Daniel and I talk about doing our new music, like, we're going to have obviously a big hand in ourselves, even from the production. But if we're going to do it, we want to work with somebody who's going to elevate us.
Totally.
Because we feel like we're at a certain level. And even though we produce and engineer and mix for other people, we want to elevate ourselves and we want to learn. So we're going to get to the point where we're going to have to shell out some bucks, either for a producer or shell out some writing or shell out some money for a mix and stuff like that. And, I'm not going to be asking for a deal.
No.
You know what I mean? Because I know that I want this person to take this really seriously. And again, too, money and music should never go together. Like, in the perfect world, it doesn't work. I have tons of people, all my friends, not all my friends, but some friends who like don't 100% get it will be like, oh, like, how many songs did you do this month? And I'd be like, I did 2. And they'd be like, well, how much do you charge for a song? And I'd be like, I don't know. Or I might say the number if I'm comfortable with the person. I might not, depending on how much I want them to know my finances. And they might say to me, well, how many hours did you put in it though? And I'd be like, well, I don't know. I work like 10 to 12 hour days, 6 days a week or something like that. You're like, that's not a lot of money for that amount of hours.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, that's not what it's about though. Because last month I did 8 songs in a month period. This one I did 2, because sometimes it's totally different. For this Justin guy, who's a country artist we're working with, Daniel and I are the band. Right. So we're playing the instruments and stuff. He comes in, cuts the vocal, does some guitar stuff. Waterfront, they're playing all their own instruments. So I'm strictly the producer, engineer. I'm more engineer, Daniel's producing, and I'm the mixer, right? It's totally different. Sometimes you do 8 songs in 1 month, sometimes you do 2. And I think if you broke it down in a spreadsheet and did, I'm getting paid X amount of dollars for this amount of time, we're all making minimum wage, dude. Like, you know what I mean? But I don't see it that way. I see it as a month. I'm willing, if I got work or not, and luckily I have had work, like say tomorrow, like there isn't 100% thing that I need to get done tomorrow in the studio, but I am going to be working on that Sleepless Band song. I'm still going in there and putting in a 12-hour day and doing it because I'm either going to be learning a new technique, I'm reaching out to other bands, maybe I'm doing emails, we got masters coming in from mixes I've done. There's stuff to do.
Yes.
You know, so in my head, I'm putting in a certain amount of hours a month if I have an artist or not. And if I can make a certain amount of money in those months that I can pay my bills, save some money and, you know, further my career, I'm living the dream. Totally. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if it's 10 grand one month, if it's 5 grand the other month, because it all evens itself out, but it's not 100%. You know what I mean?
No, it's not. It's a lifestyle,
not like getting,
man.
It's not like getting a 9-to-5 paycheck.
No, you can't even compare them.
No,
because I know,
and a lot of people don't understand that.
Totally. I know exactly what you mean, and I've had months where I'm like barely keeping up, and then, like I said to you before the podcast, like, yeah, June was a pretty quiet month for me, dude, but that was fine because a lot of things came to an end, and now I'm seeing the fruits of that labor because it's July. All that shit that I worked so hard on is coming out now, and it's like,
and people are hearing that music is coming out, and people will start reaching out to you.
That is valuable to me. That is value, having my name out there. So it's like, I'd rather look at it like a year even, you know, when I go to my FreshBooks, I use FreshBooks for my invoicing and accounting, and I look at like how I'm doing for 6 months or how I did in 2020, and I look at that number and it's like, that was a great year. Like, yes, I worked like my ass off, and yes, I had slow days, slow weeks, but like overall that was a sick year.
But dude, you'd be doing it anyway. If you weren't making money doing it, you'd be doing it anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely,
me too.
yeah.
Like, that's the thing, is that I don't like saying hobby because I've always taken this very seriously. My hobby became what I made a living off of.
Right.
So a 12-hour day to a construction worker is totally different than a 12-hour day to me. Dude, I love it. Dude, it's all I think about.
I tell people, like, what's your favorite thing to do? Is it throwing a frisbee with your dog, making love to your wife, cooking, whatever it is? This is my favorite thing. I happen to make a living doing it. So like you said, I don't give a fuck if it's a 24-hour day. Like, this is,
I don't care.
Like, it's a lifestyle. It's the whole thing. It's the whole package, man. And
it's like, I don't even, do you know what? I really feel for people that get excited for Friday and Saturday nights.
Because I'm here. I've been here since.
No, it's not even that, dude, because every day now is a Friday night to me.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like Saturday night, last night, I was at the studio all day and I did nothing.
Yeah.
Because I don't care. It's not like Friday, Saturday night, we're going to the bar. It's like our work week's over. It's like, nah.
No.
Every night is a good night. You know, every night is a Friday night. Every day is a Saturday.
Oh, I totally lose track of the week. Like,
me too.
I'm like, Monday is Saturday. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Like, weekends, what do you mean? Like,
what is a weekend? Like, I don't care anymore. I don't care. Dude, someone told me it was Canada Day on Thursday. I'm like, okay, I'm still going to the studio. Like, I still got a mix to do.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I'm at the point now where, like, this happened to me the other day, and it was like Friday night, right? End of the work week, and I'm in here, and I sent last 3 mixes for a client's album, and they were just like, so, like, I could tell they were just like so impressed that I was in on Friday night, and they're just like, text me back like, you legend, you're the GOAT, like, like, Friday night, why are you at the studio? And I'm just like, oh, it is Friday night, but like, it never crossed my mind. Like, I've work to do. I'm coming in here. I couldn't wait to get here, to be honest.
I feel bad for those people, man. Dude, I leave for the studio or get to the studio so early. Do you know why? Because I'm so excited I can't sleep at night.
I know exactly how you feel. Yeah,
like it's that level.
It's that level. I'm lying in bed like, oh, I'm gonna try that new compression technique tomorrow.
Do you know what? That's how I fall asleep. I'm thinking like, I wonder if I should change the attack on my SSL G comp tomorrow. Yeah, wonder what that would do. Let me try that tomorrow.
Yeah, that's why you're successful, dude. That's why, born to do this shit.
It's hilarious. I love it when people don't understand it too, because I'm like you need to find something. I'm like, I hope you find something in your life that you're passionate about as much as I'm passionate about music. I really hope you do.
Because then you fucking won life.
I've won life, dude.
You've won it, dude.
Dude, I don't care about money. I don't care any of that. I don't care about owning a house would be nice, but I don't give a fuck about any of those
No.
Instagram checklist things to make you a successful person.
Oh God.
I wake up every morning and I'm excited to go to quote unquote work. I don't even like saying that. I joke with my grandma, my mom and dad that I'm unemployed.
Yeah. No,
But,
I call this Disneyland, dude. Like, it's
Wow.
what I feel like when I come here.
Damn,
all my
dude, that's
toys
awesome.
and the rides and like,
Yeah.
that's what it feels like, man. It's
Everyday
like-
Disneyland.
But yeah, it's you put that so eloquently. Like it really is beautiful, man. Like we've beat the game. Like if this life was a
I
video
beat
game,
the last
like,
boss, bro.
we beat the last boss. We're just cruising now, man. Like
Yeah.
I hope I do have one goal. I hope that when I'm 100, I'm still mixing records. Like I want to be the
Soto style.
I want to be the first guy to like chart like 100-year-old mixer.
Oh my
like,
God.
taking care of myself. 32.
Elon Musk will have you there, dude.
But like that's the level of like that's the long-term shit I'm talking about. I'm not like thinking about retirement or
Dude, Al Schmidt-
RSPs and shit. Like
do you know who Al Schmidt is?
yeah, the goat.
Yeah, he just passed away.
Yeah.
Dude, 92. He was mixing records, dude.
I know.
92.
That makes me like want to cry. I'm so
I know.
That's so
I know.
inspiring.
Dude,
like
I didn't
it's
even
just,
know the guy, and I got like emotional at his death because I'm like, this is
92.
the guy, man.
dude, the most Grammys of any engineer ever.
Yeah.
I mean, Al Schmidt was truly the GOAT. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So R.I.P.
Yeah, dude.
He's an inspiration for
Yeah, he's
all
crazy,
of us,
man.
dude.
He's so crazy.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get into a lot of like a lot of the records that we do. Just my ear naturally goes for a more modern sound. So like we were talking about drums, like how to treat drums or how I treat drums. It's very sample based, very upfront. Everything's upfront in the mix. Everything's very clean sounding. Everything you can hear everything where every element is in my mixes. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. You know, it's up to your own discretion of what you prefer to hear in a mix, right? It's just my ears. That's how I hear things. But I've also been studying other ways to mix of guys that have more mud 300 in their mixes maybe, or 200 and stuff like that. And it sounds muddy, but there's a certain amount of glue and certain amount of drums, bass, guitars is one element, vocals is another element. Then their mix bus is really feeding that mid-range that makes it even more like gluey together. While a lot of the stuff that I do is more precise EQ moves and stuff like that, cutting that out. So I've been studying that a lot too. And engineers, there seems to be, I might be talking out of my ass here, seems to be a lot of the local guys that not grow up, but studied under like the Garth Richardson thing. They have a certain style to their mixes and their productions where it sounds very, I don't know, it's very natural sounding. But it's also small but muddy, but it's also big at the same time. It's very weird. I was just talking to this about Daniel yesterday. We were studying some of our old Faceplant stuff and some of the guys locally around town. And it's crazy how much that, mixes are just different because everybody has different ears. It's like, I don't necessarily think either way's better. I actually think maybe their way is better than my way, but I don't know how to do their way. And I bet you they couldn't do my way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe I'll never be able to do it, but I think there's a certain amount of time that you could put into studying that way and say, what's the pros to that way? What do I like from those techniques that they're doing? What do I not like about that? What do I want to introduce to mine? I do that every day. I do that with all the mix with the masters.
Yeah.
Anything that I learn from, I take what I think's great from it and I incorporate it. Give it a shot. Maybe it is amazing. Maybe it's not. And all the stuff that I don't agree with, I minus it out.
Still good to have in your toolkit in the back of your head so that you can try it. It's not going to work. These techniques that we see the guys do on Mix with the Masters,
like a Jason Joshua, right?
That it's so cool that he can just open up his Pro Tool session and be like, here's my vocal chain, here's everything I did, and he's not afraid to do it because that isn't going to work on everybody. That's not like a secret.
Yeah, I couldn't
worked
do
on
it.
that song, but it might not even work if I had the multi-tracks.
Nope, probably not.
Because it's all about all the little other moves and details and the balance and how he made it work.
Dude, I don't know if you've done this. I've done this before in downtime. Like a couple months ago, I had like a week that I had some downtime, and I was like, I just learned some new mix techniques. I really want to try them. I'm going to remix a song I did from 6 months ago.
Nice. Yeah.
I couldn't even get it close to what it used to be. And I'm not saying it was better or worse or anything. I couldn't mix the same song twice. No, like I did mix it, but it didn't even sound close to what it was.
Interesting. Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying mine was worse now. I might have liked the one I previously did better because maybe I developed that in my head and I've been listening to it, and it's a direction that I already chose. Now I'm trying to take it to another direction. But you could have exactly what you said. Dude, I don't give a fuck. You could put the stems into a session with everything done and said, like, just do your thing on it. It still won't be the same. It still won't be the same.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's actually like a mind fuck thinking about it.
I think about like cooking shows where they, where they
Good
have
analogy.
like all the rest, like all the vegetables are chopped, the mushrooms, the sauce, everything's laid out. And they're like, okay, this is what you put in. This is the exact order. This is how hot the oven is. Like,
and it's
literally
still going to be
everything.
different if you do it.
And theirs is going to taste so different from yours at home. You know what I mean? Like,
I think about that sometimes. I think about, what am I doing on the vocals now while tracking that I wasn't doing a year ago? Why does it sound so much better now?
yeah. Oh, the
Isn't that weird
tracking vocals.
though? You know what I mean? I do that I do that for tracking vocals, and I think, man, my compression settings haven't changed.
Yeah.
My preamps haven't really changed. My mic hasn't changed. Why is it better?
What's going on?
Like, why is it noticeably better? And I'm learning that it's the producing the singer, and it's making sure their mic placement's good, their dynamics that they're doing themselves for it.
Oh God, yeah. 1 inch could make or break a take, honestly.
Riding the compressor now instead of leaving it stagnant. Riding the preamp, if they're super dynamic singer, notching down that preamp when they're going for that big note into the last chorus. And I clip gain and comp while I go. I was comping while I go a year ago, but now I clip gain while I go too, to really make sure that by the time the singer's done, we can, again, man, I want it to sound as finished as possible. By the time we're done and we listen back to it, the vocals already leveled out, the breaths are already down.
Yeah.
And it's already, we know exactly what we did and we nailed it, or exactly what we missed and we need to go back and retake it. It's like a clear direction.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really important, because then you don't want to get really close to the end and be left with all these surprises, right? And
Okay, so how do you, question for you. How do you do your vocals normally with, like, do you do playlisting and stuff like that? Because this is something that, like, I've heard so many, I don't think there's a right way to do it, but I've heard so many guys do this a different way. Like, when you're tracking a vocal, like, and they're doing takes, are you popping the bad quote unquote takes into a playlist?
Yeah.
Or are you throwing all of them into it, or like, how do you typically do it?
Yeah. So what I do, well, it's, again, like with rappers, writing in the booth as they go, and it can be tough. But when somebody comes prepared and like they've got a verse written, I like to be like, yo, we can do this in as many takes as you need. If you need to stop when you're out of breath, let me know. Whatever feels the most organic for you. There's no pressure to do this in one take. However, if you can do it in one take, I'd prefer that, just because we're going to get a good performance out of you, and it's going to feel like, a performance rather than chopped up pieces. But we'll usually we'll just run the verse, and then they'll be like, no, I want to try it again. I'll playlist it. No, I want to try it again. And either we'll pick the best take, or we'll go through the comp or all the playlists, and I'll make a comp of like
comp.
4 bars of this, 8 bars of that, and just make a master comp. That's usually how I get the take, and then, mixing, automation, all that afterwards. I don't. Yeah, it's really different than because usually at that point they leave it with me. I'm not working with the band and having to have them come in the next day and do a different instrument. With the stuff I'm doing, hip hop, trap, R&B, it's like once the vocal's done, like
she's ready for mix.
They go home. They're like, okay, and I'll be like, all right, I'll have something for you to check out in like 3 to 5 days, whatever. So I'm lucky in that sense. Once I get the vocal nailed, and a lot of people will even just at this point, people I've worked with a lot will even just trust me to pick the takes
Yeah,
for
yeah.
them. You know,
Yeah,
leave it in my hands. I'll do all the comping.
Yeah, a
sometimes.
lot of the hip hop rapper guys, because I've been working with that one guy, they're a lot more particular with their vocals because of their cadences on some of it.
Oh yeah.
Typically, what I'll do is, this seems to work really well for me. I bet you if you asked an old school engineer, they'd say that I have no idea what I'm doing. But so what I'll do is like say we're doing a full song, and I always break it down into sections. I'll very rarely ask somebody, like it doesn't happen that I ask them to do like a full take of a song or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'll ask them to do I literally call it a bullshit first take. And that's me running the whole song, me hearing what their voice is like, them warming up, and me dialing in the compression and preamp settings.
I do the same thing. Yeah.
So, and they just get familiar with their headphones, and I say anything up, or they say vocal up, vocal down, more delay.
Yeah.
And it's a bullshit run. It's just for them to get comfortable doing it.
Get the
and maybe I'll do it.
jitters out. Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it twice, and then after that, we record vocals in the same room as us, so we got headphones on. After that, after I'm happy where I think the preamp compression's set good, I'll say, give me 1 second here. I just want to make sure I'm not screwing up your vocals. Like I kind of turn it on me a little bit, and I'll put it on my speakers and just listen to the compression out of my speakers.
Oh yeah.
And the preamp out of my speakers, because a lot of time you get fooled a little bit with your headphones, I find, and make sure it's good. I'm like, okay, we're good now. So now, like, that's literally a 10-second process. I quickly listen. I'm like, dope, we're good.
I find it a lot harder to hear the proximity effect with the headphones on as well. And then when I play it on the Jennies, I'm like, oh, okay, you need to step back a little bit.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm glad we did that scratch take.
Yeah, exactly. So the scratch tape gives you 2 minutes, 3 minutes to really feel like get yourself dialed in. And if you're not dialed in after like 2 of those or 1 of those, you got to go get a different career. Or something like that. Then what we'll do is we'll do a run of, I'll try to do, matters how good the singer is too. And I decide that, or Daniel and I decide that in that take that they do, that first warm up take, of how long can the singer sing until they need a breath or until they're out of breath. So if it goes right, it's like, okay, dope. We're going to do half the first verse. So then they'll do half the first verse, and I'll be playlisting all the bad takes that I think, but I'll try to find 3 really good ones, and I'll pull them up to a comp 1, comp 2. So I call them keep 1, keep 2, keep 3.
Yeah.
I throw them, I just drag them up to a thing. And those are the ones that I think are really good. And then I'll say, if once we got 3 of those that I'm like pretty happy with, I'll say time to move on to the next one. And what that allows me to do is I can normally make a comp out of those 3 good ones that I think there's something special out of those. And now I don't have to dig into my playlists to go through it. But also that allows me to create a master one, which is the lead, and a verse double from that too.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
So now you're doing that. And in the chorus, I like to do 3 vocals. So in the chorus, I'll comp them together to make... The chorus is different. I normally keep 5 in the chorus, because then I'll try to get 3 of the lead that's the same, and I comp from the 5. If there's anything that I'm not getting out of those ones, that maybe I made a bad judgment call, I've never run into this before, but maybe I made a bad judgment call, then I dive into the playlist. I try not to go into the playlist as much as I can.
Yeah, it's just there for safety, really.
It's just there for safety, or like in the mix. And when I send the mix out, if there's one word they're like, don't really like that, I'll like dig back through that vocal session playlist and see if I can find a better one.
No worries, we got 19 more of that word.
I just don't want to be making a judgment call, because a lot of people, maybe it's these old school guys, maybe I'm ignorant for saying that, will just playlist everything, and by the time the vocal session is done, I don't even 100% know if we got it or not. You know what I mean? And there's nothing to listen back to.
Yeah.
Like the singer at the end of it's like, I'm like, okay, man, we got all the parts. And he's like, oh, can we hear it? I'm like, well, it isn't comped yet.
Yeah.
Or like isn't tuned yet or whatever, right? That. But if I'm doing it as I go, I can show them something. And I've already identified that these are the amazing takes. So at least it's 75% of the way there.
I think that's the way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything constantly, we work on the fly. We're improving as we go.
Like every step, I'm trying to gain confidence in the artist. Every single step. Like, wow, you just recorded that. We spent an hour, and I just play him back, and he's like, wow, this is the best vocals I've ever heard me perform. I said, well, wait till tomorrow morning after I comp it and tune it. Yeah. And they're like, oh man, it's going to be even better. You know what I mean? It's all about like doing stuff like that really gains people's trust. Like, wow, these guys actually really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then if they did go work with somebody else and they weren't doing that, they're like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I find that really challenging though with the style of music that I do, because if I was gonna I'll give people auto tune, but if I'm like compressing, EQing, throwing some delays on it, reverb, most of these guys would just release that song.
yeah,
you know what I mean? And then me talking about a mix at that point is like, well, like
it's already mixed.
This is done. And the problem we ran into for years is like, I mean, we weren't even charging for mixing because most of the mixing was done in the session, because we were just like, it was recording and we, as the engineer, were having fun and impressing the artist, and then by 3-4 hours is done and got some awesome takes and like literally a song that sounds like it could be put out. We don't have the stems yet, but we're recording over this multi-track and I'm in there doing my thing. And
yeah, it's kind of a fine line.
It's so tough with hip hop because it's just too easy, man. It's just,
No, but I don't think it's too easy. It's almost like you need to, and I do this too. Like when we're tracking the vocals, I'll have a little bit of delay and reverb on it. I won't go full gung ho though. Like it's not like I'm importing my mix vocal template or something like that. I'm like 50% there.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like, and I'm purposely leaving it a little bit more drier and like unmixed sounding, a little bit like, I do some quick like SSL EQ on it. I do some gating really quick just to pull out all the bullshit in between or whatever. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say.
I've toned down so much from what I used to do because, like I said, it was either impossible to convince someone to pay me because in their mind, like, this sounded great.
It might be though that you need to have that conversation beforehand though and set it up like, hey guys, we're doing a vocal tracking thing. Yeah. If you want this mixed after, it's going to be a separate thing. So even if it sounds good at the end of it, they're like even more stoked to go like, wow, if it sounds this good like right now, can't wait till it's mixed.
Yeah.
So now you just turned a negative into a positive.
And over the years I have learned from all the mistakes, and now like before they even get in the booth, we sit down and we at least have like a 5 to 10 minute conversation about like what they want to do, the expectations, what I'm doing, what they're getting for this hourly recording, all that. Like I lay it out on the table before I even set the mic up, so it's like, oh, it's all understood. Because in the past, man, I just got burned too many times, and it was like people would release the shit that we did in the session, man. No. It was like, it was crazy. So but I've gotten so much better at like delivering the message, getting the point across, setting up the expectations early, all that stuff. I mean, you learn over time.
Therapist. Straight therapist.
Yeah, fuck, that's 50% of our job, dude.
Yeah, man, for sure.
For sure. I feel like we've been going for a minute, dude. It's 2.5 hours we've been doing this.
Holy smokes, really?
It's 1:30.
Man.
So let's bring this home. This has been really, really fun.
I feel like there's so much more to say.
Oh, dude, we'll
have to do it in part two.
We'll have you back. Absolutely, I'll have you back.
I got some more stuff I got to talk to you about off the podcast.
Yeah, I know. So let people know where they can find you online, so they can see some of the stuff that you've been working on, that you've been engineering in your bands.
Yeah. So the best place to find us out is, for me specifically, is like Instagram or Facebook. That's the thing I'm most active on. So my Instagram's at FPG Ward. Then any of the music that we work on that we've been putting out on the production is under the Renaissance. So you can go to the renaissanceofficial.com.
Awesome.
Check out that. We also, if you just look up the Renaissance on Spotify, we have some of the work that we've done on actually an artist page too.
Perfect.
That we've done too. And just type in Google the Renaissance Productions, or check out too. Big shout out to Dan Botch. He's my production partner.
Right on.
So he's FP Dan Botch on Instagram, and find him on Facebook too, and hit him up too. And our email, honestly, email's the best spot to hit me up at, and we can go from there. And I don't feel bad putting that out there. Yeah. the period Renaissance period songs at gmail.com.
There you go.
That's where I'm at most active 24/7.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you,
We're
man.
super overdue. I'm glad we,
I know.
take the masks off and just feel comfortable again, get the mics out. So
Yeah,
this
next
has been
time we'll
great.
get the Manleys instead of the
Part 2, we'll do the Manleys. Garrett Ward, everybody. This is Demo to Limo, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Peace.